Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Now, please come out first. I don't like to speak while looking at the air. The mysterious man said. Looking at the air. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Listening to what he said, this mysterious man was looking at them now. But there wasn't even a shadow inside the barrier. Could it be? Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at the grey castle, his eyes flashing. Was it the grey figure that gave Long Tianyu the potential pill? Come out. I've already dispersed the power of death. I won't rob your vitality and erode your divine soul. The mysterious man said again. It's already dispersed. Qin Feiyang glanced at the void outside in surprise. He really didn't dare to go out and take the risk. One had to know. The strange power here, even the madman, a half-step divine lord, couldn't last for a few breaths, let alone him. If the mysterious man was lying to him, wouldn't going out be the same as courting death? The madman was also hesitating. But in the end, he finally gritted his teeth and left the space divine item, appearing inside the barrier. Inside the barrier, the strange power had really disappeared. Seeing that the madman was safe and sound, Qin Feiyang was completely relieved. However, just as Qin Feiyang was about to leave the castle, Fire Lotus said, Qin Dage, take me with you. Take you with me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Maybe I can help. Fire Lotus said. This, Qin Feiyang hesitated. Even if I can't help, you can send me to the castle as soon as possible. There won't be any danger. Fire Lotus said with a smile. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, but you have to promise me that you will always stay by my side and not act on your own. Okay. Fire Lotus smiled. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, rolled up Fire Lotus and appeared not far away from the madman. It's really you. Seeing Qin Feiyang appear, the madman was overjoyed and hurriedly ran in front of the two, saying, You really scared me to death, I thought you were already dead. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Wait. That's not right. Didn't you say that your space divine item can't block this strange power? Why is nothing happening now? The madman frowned. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, Didn't you also say that you don't have a space divine item? Ah. The madman was stunned, shook his head and smiled bitterly, saying, Okay, pretend I didn't ask. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at the madman, looked at the grey castle, and said coldly, We have all come out, but what about you? Are you going to hide in there forever? If you want to see this sovereign's true face, let's see if you have the qualifications. As the mysterious man's voice fell, clouds of grey fog suddenly appeared in the barrier, floating in the void, emitting a gloomy and evil aura. Immediately after. Rumble. In the clouds of grey fog, there was a deafening sound. It was not the sound of aura erupting, nor was it the sound of battle, but the sound of footsteps. And there was more than one, deafening. Moreover, there was also a terrifying evil aura, as if countless devils were tearing the barrier between heaven and earth, climbing up from hell. What is that? Qin Feiyang and the other two stood together, staring at the grey fog with vigilance. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and more deafening. Qin Feiyang and the other two's heartbeats were beating at the same frequency as the footsteps. Even the qi and blood in their body were surging uncontrollably. Be careful. The madman secretly warned. Qin Feiyang nodded. There was no need to think to know that something bad was going to happen. About a few breaths later. Boom! Suddenly. A huge beast shadow walked out from one of the clouds of grey fog. The pupils of the three shrank. It turned out to be a frost ape. It was exactly the same as the 16 frost apes they encountered at the beginning. It had 9 heads, like a small mountain, standing in the void opposite them, exuding a terrifying aura. Be careful, it also has a half-step paragon god cultivation base. The madman whispered. Half-step paragon god. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened. How strong was this mysterious man to be able to summon a half-step paragon god beast? However, an even more shocking scene was yet to come. In the other gray fog, beasts also walked out one after another. And there was more than one kind. There was a snow leopard that was more than 10 meters in size. There was an ice python that was as huge as a mountain ridge. There was also a lion eagle that Qin Feiyang was more familiar with. Each of the lion-headed eagles was dozens of feet tall, comparable to a mountain. Wait. And there was no exception. These beasts were all half-step paragon god existences. The ferocious aura surged, pressing Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus until they were almost out of breath. So many. Even the madman was shocked. Because there were a total of 35 beasts that appeared in front of them in the end. Let's begin. The mysterious man's voice sounded. Boom. As the voice fell, the 35 beasts stepped on the void and charged toward Qin Feiyang and the other two. All of you, back off. The madman shouted. 35 half-step paragon god beasts, with Qin Feiyang's current cultivation base, there was no room for him to fight back. Even just the fluctuations of the battle were enough to take his life. Hearing the madman's words, Qin Feiyang didn't dare to hesitate and immediately pulled Fire Lotus and retreated. When the two retreated to the edge of the realm of death, the madman waved his hand and a wave of divine power emerged, forming a divine power barrier that enveloped Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus. This was naturally to protect Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus. After all, the realm of death was only so big. And the battle of half-step paragon god was enough to spread millions of miles away. Therefore, no matter where they retreated, they couldn't escape the fate of being affected by the fluctuations of the battle. Therefore, they had to be prepared in advance. And Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus's lives weren't in danger, so the madman could fight without any hesitation. In the blink of an eye, the 35 beasts had already charged in front of the madman, each exuding an aura that could destroy the world. This is interesting. The madman chuckled. Boom. Blood-colored divine power surged out like a tide. In an instant, the madman's aura changed greatly, as if he had become a different person. His eyes flashed red as if he was possessed by a demon god. His fiendish aura was even more terrifying than the 35 beasts. As he waved his hand, the blood-colored divine power gathered together. Clang! In the next instant, a palm-sized blood-colored square seal appeared. Blood Demon Seal. Fire Lotus might be unfamiliar with the Blood Demon Seal, but Qin Feiyang was very familiar with it. Because the madman had used this divine art on Turtle King Island. And it was a peak divine art. I am invincible. Kill. The madman raised his head and laughed wildly. The Blood Devil Seal rushed into the sky and expanded in the wind. In an instant it turned into a giant seal that was several hundred feet long. Demonic aura spread in all directions. As he waved his hand, the Blood Demon Seal descended with an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Roar! The two frost apes roared and raised their thick and solid arms to meet the attack. Boom! Inside the enchantment, there was a loud explosion that shook the heavens and earth. The arms of the two frost apes were crushed by the Blood Devil Seal on the spot. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. However, as if they didn't feel pain, they raised their other arm and threw it at the Blood Demon Seal. Although the physical body and power of beasts were naturally stronger than humans, it was still a peak divine art. How could the body of flesh block it? The other arm also shattered with a crack. Blood splattered and dyed the ground red. But then, a scene that shocked the madman and Qin Feiyang even more appeared. The two frost apes' arms were shattered, but they still didn't have any intention of dodging. They didn't even scream. It was as if they really didn't know what pain was. What was even crazier was that after their arms shattered, not only did they not retreat, they used their bodies to charge at the blood demon seal. Chapter 2104. What's going on? Aren't they afraid of death? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. No. Fire Lotus shook her head and glanced at the two frost apes. Suddenly, she found that their eyes seemed to be empty. Could it be? Her gaze trembled as she quickly looked at the other 33 beasts. Their eyes were also empty. I see. She immediately understood and hurriedly shouted, "Madman, be careful. They are puppets." Puppets? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Madman was also stunned. The two carefully sized up the beasts. After Fire Lotus's reminder, they quickly noticed the clues. The 35 beasts not only had empty eyes but also no heartbeat. They were equivalent to corpses. No wonder they were so crazy. Corpses had no consciousness and were completely controlled by someone. In other words, at this moment, these beasts were secretly controlled by the mysterious person hiding in the Grey Castle. In the blink of an eye, the two frost apes had already collided with the blood devil seal. With a loud bang, the two frost apes' huge bodies exploded in the void. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The blood devil seal was not damaged at all. It carried a monstrous aura and continued to kill the other puppets. Boom! The remaining 32 beasts were also killed one after another. I was looking forward to it, but I didn't expect it to be a group of puppets. Madman waved his hand and the blood devil seal turned into a bloody light that floated above his head. The bloody light illuminated half the sky. Looking down on puppets, the mysterious person's voice sounded. Puppets can't activate their battle soul and can't use god techniques. With my means, killing them is like killing dogs. Madman sneered. Hee. The mysterious person couldn't help but laugh and said, "Don't worry, this is just an appetizer. The real show has yet to begin." Appetizer? Qin Feiyang's heart trembled as he swept his gaze towards the balls of grey mist floating in the air. Could it be that there were stronger puppets in the grey fog? Come out! The mysterious person shouted. Deafening footsteps could be heard coming from within the grey fog. Boom! In the next moment, more and more ferocious beasts appeared. Just like the 35 ferocious beasts from before, its eyes were empty and there was no heartbeat. However, the auras they emitted were as different as heaven and earth. An initial paragon god. Madman's pupils constricted as he looked at them one by one. In the end, he discovered that there were as many as 50 fierce beasts. Can Madman withstand it? Qin Feiyang was quite worried. 50 beasts that had just become paragon gods. Even if it was a puppet, it was not something that ordinary people could deal with. If they were all alive, Madman would definitely have a hard time. After all, there are too many of them. But puppets, with Madman's methods, it shouldn't be a problem. Fire Lotus whispered. She then looked at the Grey Castle, a cold light flashing in the depths of her eyes. Go! The mysterious man said. The 50 ferocious beasts instantly turned into a torrent and crazily pounced at Madman. No matter how many come, I'll kill them all. The madman laughed arrogantly. Without any fear, he charged over. He wasn't afraid of a mere puppet. Qin Feiyang watched nervously. In the meantime, he was even more afraid of the mysterious man in the Grey Castle. One must know. Whether it was a half-step paragon god or an initial paragon god, they were all extremely terrifying existences. And this person actually controlled so many puppets of this level. Just how strong was he? It was hard to imagine. As Fire Lotus said, this person was indeed a terrifying devil comparable to the Grim Reaper. Don't mind it. Suddenly, the mysterious man's voice sounded again. Immediately after, An invisible force crashed down, and the barrier that the madman had set up earlier instantly collapsed. Qin Feiyang's expression suddenly changed. Because as soon as the barrier was broken, the fluctuations of the battle between madman and those puppets were overwhelming. Qin Feiyang immediately felt the threat of death. "Quickly go to the castle," Fire Lotus shouted. But before Fire Lotus's voice faded, another invisible force descended and shrouded the two. Then, the two felt their bodies become light. The next moment, they both appeared outside the barrier. Huh! The two were stunned. What was this situation? Fire Lotus came back to her senses and said, "Qin Dage, take this opportunity to leave." Qin Feiyang nodded. However, before they could enter the castle, another grey barrier appeared out of thin air and trapped them again. Damn it! Fire Lotus glanced at the barrier, her face gloomy. "Don't worry, there will be a way." Qin Feiyang secretly comforted her and turned to look at the grey castle, saying, "Show me what you have. You have guts. But I don't know how strong you are." The mysterious man smiled sinisterly. Inside the barrier where Qin Feiyang and Fire Lotus were, clouds of black fog immediately appeared. Boom! A series of loud and clear footsteps resounded. Immediately after, from the black fog, beasts walked out one after another. Their strength was not strong, and they were all perfect war gods. Compared to the puppets that Madman was facing at the moment, it could be said that the difference was like heaven and earth. But their numbers were several times more than the puppets that Madman was facing at the moment. Qin Feiyang glanced at them and estimated that there were at least 200 beasts. Fire Lotus glanced at the beasts and said in a low voice, "Qin Dage, let me do it, so that I don't get injured and expose my identity." No. Although these beasts are all puppets, their cultivation is higher than yours. You are not their opponent. Don't worry about me. A group of perfect war god puppets can't injure me. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he decisively sent Fire Lotus to the castle. Only in the castle could he guarantee her safety. "You're quite affectionate." Not bad, this sovereign appreciates you." The mysterious man laughed hoarsely. Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear and glanced at the beasts. His aura erupted like a volcano as he took the initiative to attack. "Kill!" The mysterious man's roar also sounded. More than 200 ferocious beasts suddenly turned into a torrent, and rushed toward Qin Feiyang from all directions. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted from his nose and had no intention to defend at all. Divine power gushed out and attacked the beasts. He didn't show any mercy. Every time he attacked, he could kill a puppet. For a moment, broken corpses and limbs flew all over the sky. Blood dyed the sky red. Boom! Suddenly, just as he smashed a puppet with his palm, two ferocious apes pounced at him fiercely and their millstone-sized fists fiercely hit his back. But Qin Feiyang's face only turned slightly pale and he didn't suffer any actual damage. After being tempered by two heavenly tribulations, not only did his strength exceed ordinary people, the willfulness and strength of his body were also comparable to a high-grade divine artifact. So, the attacks of the two ferocious apes didn't have any lethality in front of him. From the beginning to the end, he didn't get angry. He turned around and directly killed the two ferocious apes. Because there was no need to get angry with these puppets that had no consciousness and no emotions. Even if you were angry, they wouldn't understand. At this moment, he was like a god of death, his expression extremely cold. It was completely a one-sided massacre. Of course, he didn't use the power of the divine dragon. But the other two types of divine power were enough for him to deal with these puppets. And the battle on the madman's side was more intense than Qin Feiyang's side. Although the madman was very arrogant, he didn't dare to lower his guard in the face of 50 early-stage supreme god puppets and fought with all his strength. About 100 breaths later. Qin Feiyang stood proudly in the void, his aura like a rainbow. His whole body was covered in blood, as if he was bathed in a rain of blood. The more than 200 ferocious beasts had all been killed. The blood on his body was from those ferocious beasts. Below the glacier, there were mountains of bones piled up, and the pungent smell of blood filled the entire death region. Die for me. It was also at this moment. The madman's violent roar sounded. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw the head of a ferocious beast being smashed into pieces by the madman's punch. His strength is indeed not simple. Qin Feiyang murmured. With a half-step supreme god cultivation, killing an early-stage supreme god ferocious beast, even if it was a puppet, was enough to be praised. It seems that this lord has underestimated you a little. The mysterious man's voice sounded, echoing in the barrier for a long time. I also want to see how strong I am now. Qin Feiyang sneered. When he was still an early-stage war god, he could already kill a half-step supreme god. What was a mere perfect war god? One must know. He hadn't activated the six-word divine art yet. The six-word divine art could ignore the barrier of a large realm. It was estimated that even if it was a perfect war god, he could still fight with the six-word divine art. Huh, what an arrogant brat. The mysterious man laughed hoarsely and said, "This lord will fulfill your wish." As soon as his voice faded, another ferocious beast roared out from the grey fog. Their cultivation had reached the level of a half-step supreme god. Not enough, not enough. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a wisp of blood-red light streaked across the sky like lightning, entering the head of a ferocious beast. Crack! The ferocious beast's head shattered on the spot. Following closely, that wisp of blood-red light attacked the next ferocious beast. None of the ferocious beasts could withstand the blood-red light's attack and were instantly destroyed. This was the power of the kill formula. Even though it was only formed by a wisp of killing intent, it still had a heaven-defying divine power. And now, he could only activate the kill formula, battle formula, advance formula, and return formula. Although he was only one step away from a half-step supreme god, a half-step supreme god had already surpassed the war god level. Therefore, divine arts such as the divine dragon formula, the fire phoenix formula, and the end of the void formula were unable to display their original power. In other words, these divine arts could not cause harm to a half-step supreme god. Of course, if Qin Feiyang really went all out, even if he didn't use the six-word divine art, he would still be able to fight against a half-step supreme god. However, this way, he would definitely be injured and bleed. This was not what he wanted to see. Therefore, he was more straightforward and directly revealed the six-word divine art. Kill one that came out. In the end, it was really like that. Those puppets only revealed half of their bodies in the grey fog before they were mercilessly shattered by the blood-red light. Chapter 2105. Fuck, so fierce. Looking at Qin Feiyang killing gods and devils, Madman couldn't help but be dumbfounded. But when he noticed the wisp of blood grace, he smiled in relief. He had personally experienced the might of the blood-colored fleeting grace. He knew the terrifying power of blood grace. This daddy can't lose to him. Trump card, is it? Who doesn't have one? The corners of Madman's mouth curled up, and a wisp of golden light appeared, streaking across the sky like lightning. One of the beasts that had just reached the supreme god realm was instantly killed. Kid, let's compete and see who can kill more. Madman laughed wildly. Qin Feiyang looked at Madman and asked with a smile, "Is there a prize?" "You rascal, you really want to take advantage of me at any time and place." Madman rolled his eyes. "You are an influential figure in our Nine Heavens Palace. Only a fool wouldn't take advantage of you." "No prize, I won't do it." Qin Feiyang laughed. Madman snorted coldly, if you don't want to do it, then don't. This daddy will suffer a loss. What loss? Qin Feiyang didn't understand. Look at your opponent, and then look at this daddy's opponent. They are both supreme god-level puppets. In terms of numbers, I definitely can't compare to you. If you want to compete, then let's compete in quality. 1 billion soul stones, do you dare? Madman's face was full of provocation. Compete in quality? Qin Feiyang's face twitched. If they competed in quality, then he would definitely lose. Because no matter how many he killed, it couldn't compare to a puppet that had just reached the supreme god level. After all, these puppets he killed were only half-step divine lords. If he still competed, it would be equivalent to giving 1 billion soul stones to Madman. Only a fool would do such a losing deal. Coward. Madman despised. Don't provoke me, it's useless. If you want to compete, then let's compete in quantity. Qin Feiyang disdained. Madman rolled his eyes fiercely. If they competed in quantity, he would definitely lose. Because Qin Feiyang had already killed more puppets than him. The two of them were talking and laughing, and it didn't seem like they were fighting at all. What two arrogant brats. This sovereign wants to see how long you can laugh for. The mysterious man laughed angrily. This was simply a humiliation to him. As the mysterious man's voice fell, the ferocious beast that roared out of the black fog seemed to have its strength increased by a level. The puppet that Qin Feiyang faced was shockingly at the early divine lord realm. The madman's puppet was at the level of a lesser paragon god. They were densely packed and innumerable. He killed wave after wave, just like a beast tide, there was no end to it. Not enough, not enough. However, Qin Feiyang felt no pressure at all. The blood-red light was magnificent and unstoppable. Looking back at the madman, the mysterious golden light was unstoppable, and he was doing the same with ease. The power of this golden light is beyond my imagination. Qin Feiyang mumbled. Of all the methods the madman had displayed, what he cared about the most was the golden light. To be able to compete with the kill formula, suddenly. A terrifying thought crept into his mind. Could it be, this was also a heaven-defying technique that could allow one to break through countless realms? The glacier below was piled up with mountains of corpses. The death domain sealed the surroundings, and the pungent smell of blood couldn't disperse. All of it gathered within the domain, making one nauseous. Even in the death domain, there was already a bloody mist. You really have some ability? The more the mysterious man looked, the more surprised he became. All of a sudden, the puppet that appeared from the grey fog had its strength soared by another level. The puppet that Qin Feiyang faced was a lesser divine lord. The puppet that the madman faced was a greater paragon god. This is really satisfying. Although it's just a puppet, it's been a long time since I've killed to my heart's content. The madman laughed loudly. The golden light in his body surged and gathered in his palm. The next moment, with a loud clang, a halberd appeared, as if it was cast from gold, emitting a dazzling golden light. Brat, I'll let you see my true means now. The madman laughed wildly, grabbed the halberd, and waved it in the air. A golden light blade suddenly swept across the sky. The puppets that appeared from the grey fog were all shattered in an instant. This, Qin Feiyang was shocked. How similar was this to the kill formula? Are you shocked? Quickly let me see your true means. The madman laughed loudly. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, and killing intent surged in his hand. Clang! A blood-colored long sword appeared out of thin air. A monstrous murderous aura instantly erupted from the death domain. The kill formula was fully activated. At this moment, he was like a killing god. He grabbed the blood-colored long sword and slashed out. The sword light tore the sky and split the earth. Those lesser divine lord puppets didn't have any room to resist and were torn to pieces by the sword energy. Powerful. The madman whispered. He was indeed a fierce person. However, he had a hunch that this wasn't Qin Feiyang's full strength, and there should be something hidden. Qin Feiyang also had the same feeling towards the madman. There might be more terrifying means hidden. The two of them slaughtered crazily. No matter how many puppets there were, they couldn't stop the blood-colored long sword and halberd in their hands. They were like invincible existences. But the puppets in the grey fog came wave after wave, like an undead army. And their strength was getting stronger and stronger. The puppets that the madman was facing at this moment had already reached the level of perfection god. The puppets that Qin Feiyang was facing had also reached the level of perfection god. In other words, Qin Feiyang had now crossed a major realm. But whether it was the madman or Qin Feiyang, they were invincible. Of course. They were able to do this because their opponents were all puppets. Because puppets couldn't use divine arts, couldn't activate soul-suppressing, and didn't have divine weapons. They fought purely by relying on their physical body and strength. If these puppets were replaced by living people, it would definitely be a different situation. Because living people could use all kinds of methods like them. For example, divine arts, divine weapons, and so on. But even so, it could already reflect how terrifying the power of the blood-colored long sword and halberd was. However, the two of them also slowly felt the pressure. Because there were too many of them, they couldn't kill them all. If this continued, sooner or later they would be exhausted to death. And the mysterious man seemed to have the same plan, constantly summoning puppets to kill the two of them. Unknowingly, the sky began to gradually turn white. In other words, Qin Feiyang and the madman had been fighting non-stop for an entire night. The two death realms had become mountains of corpses and seas of blood. How many puppets do you have? The madman roared. He was already exhausted. A lot, very fast. You can't kill them all in a year and a half. The mysterious man laughed. Can't kill them all in a year and a half. How many puppets do you have? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, these beasts, did you turn them into puppets after killing them? In this world, there is a kind of control secret technique. As long as you are controlled by this secret technique, you can instantly turn the other party into a puppet. The mysterious man said. Control secret technique? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Could it be the puppet technique? No. Although the puppet technique could also turn the other party into a puppet, their life would not disappear. And the secret technique that the mysterious man mastered was to erase the other party's life and turn them into a corpse. It was really a vicious secret technique. But in comparison, it seemed that the puppet technique was a little more advanced. Because under the control of the puppet technique, even if the other party became a puppet, they could still use divine arts, battle souls, and so on. Of course. In terms of cruelty, the puppet technique was definitely not as good as the secret technique that the mysterious man mastered. There aren't many perfection paragon gods in the entire northern region, and you actually have so many puppets. Who exactly are you? The madman said in a deep voice. Haha, in the current ancient realm, there aren't many perfection paragon gods, but in the previous era, there were as many as dogs. The mysterious man laughed sinisterly. The previous era? Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. That's right. Although the previous era ended 100 million years ago, the living beings of the previous era were not extinct. And I was one of them. The mysterious man said, his hoarse voice suddenly becoming incomparably old. 100 million years ago? The previous era? What are you talking about? The madman frowned. You are all too weak now and are not qualified to know these secrets. You'd better think about how to survive in the realm of death. The mysterious man laughed sinisterly. The madman said angrily, "Didn't you say that you would give us a chance to live?" "Yes. As long as you can last a month in the realm of death, I will let you go." The mysterious man said. A month. Qin Feiyang and the madman were dumbfounded. How was this possible? They were already exhausted after one night, let alone an entire month. If they had time to rest in the middle, it would be fine. But the mysterious man did not intend to let them rest at all. Continuously killing for a month without rest, with their ability, it was simply impossible. The mysterious man was determined to exhaust them to death. Damn it! It has always been me teasing others, no one dares to tease me. You want me to kill for a month, so I will kill for a month. Give you so much face. Kid, let's go to the space treasure, ignore him. The madman said angrily. Qin Feiyang also felt that it made sense, there was no need to be led by the nose by this person. Enter the space treasure. Then you might as well try and see if I have a way to kill you. The mysterious man sneered. Don't be scared by him, let's go. Madman angrily roared at Qin Feiyang before teleporting and disappearing without a trace. Qin Feiyang glanced at the grey castle and also disappeared in a flash. Really two disobedient young people. The mysterious man sighed. Clang! All of a sudden. The grey castle on the glacier bloomed with dazzling divine light. Immediately after. The grey divine light surged like a tide in the two realms of death. Inside the castle. Qin Feiyang immediately felt that the grey divine light was breaking the castle's defense bit by bit and slowly penetrating. Chapter 2106. Even the castle can't block it. Qin Feiyang turned pale with fright. The grey divine light seeped in, and a strange force quickly spread in the castle. Not only Qin Feiyang himself, Fire Lotus, Mermaid Princess, and White-Eyed Wolf were also rapidly aging. This was a sign that their vitality was being robbed. And that strange force was still crazily eroding their divine souls. Little Qin Z, think of a way. If this goes on, we will all become jerky. Feiyang, no one was in the mood to cultivate in seclusion now. They all got up and looked at Qin Feiyang in horror. But there was one person who didn't have fear in her eyes, but there was a trace of anger. This person was Fire Lotus. She stared at the grey castle outside through the screen. There was a trace of hostility between her eyebrows, but Qin Feiyang and the others didn't notice it because of the mask. But suddenly, the divine light of the grey castle dissipated. That strange force also quickly receded like the tide. Do you understand now? In front of me, no matter where you hide, it's useless. Now, I will count to 3. If you don't come out, then don't blame me for being merciless. 1, 2, 3. Just as the number 3 appeared, Qin Feiyang and the madman appeared in the realm of death. There was no other way. They could only come out. Because even if they hid in the divine space item, they would only die. Especially Qin Feiyang, it would implicate the Mermaid Princess and the others. This was not what he wanted to see. Your divine space items are very good, but unfortunately, they are all sealed and can't block my death force. The mysterious man smiled coldly. What? Sealed? Qin Feiyang looked at the madman in shock. He didn't expect that this person's divine space item was also sealed. Could it be that it was also a heaven-defying divine object like the castle? Don't say. It was really possible. Otherwise, why would the madman keep hiding it, afraid that he would find out? The madman stared at the grey castle and said, in other words, we have no choice. Yes. But don't blame me. You can only blame yourselves for overestimating yourselves and barging into the far west. Let's continue. The mysterious man laughed hoarsely. More puppets came out from the grey mist, letting out roars. As for the madman, he was still a perfect transcendent. However, Qin Feiyang's puppet was a half-step transcendent god. Qin Feiyang's expression changed. Bastard, he's just a perfect war god. How can he defeat a half-step paragon god? Madman roared as well. This is the price for your disobedience. If he dares to play any more tricks, he'll have to face early, minor, or even great perfection paragon puppets. The mysterious man laughed mockingly. Damn you! The madman was enraged. He grabbed the halberd and like a demonic god, he crushed the puppets one by one and charged towards the grey castle with murderous intent. Do you think I'm a pushover? Chapter 2107. Purple Gold Dragon Blood. The mysterious man stood in the grey castle, looking at Qin Feiyang outside, still shocked by the purple gold dragon blood. Of course. He also saw the scene of Qin Feiyang opening the killing zone. He was also very shocked. What was the background of this boy? Not only did he have the bloodline power of the purple gold divine dragon, but he also had such a terrifying killing technique. Suddenly, he waved his hand gently. Outside, in the death zone where Qin Feiyang was, a large number of puppets at the beginner level of the immortal realm immediately emerged from the grey light fog. Looking at those puppets, Qin Feiyang's face was full of disdain. With a slash of his sword, a puppet was directly split into two, and the blood that flowed out was all absorbed by the blood-red long sword. In less than 10 breaths, all the puppets were slaughtered. Not a drop of blood was left. Even the blood in the corpses was forcibly sucked dry. However, there was still a lot of corpses and blood piled up below. Because the absorption also needed a process, it was impossible to suck all the blood in the death zone dry in an instant. After all, he had been killing for an entire night. The puppets that died in his hands could probably be piled up into dozens of mountains. Fortunately, the death zone where he was imprisoned was big enough, otherwise it wouldn't be able to pile up. He killed batch after batch. Suddenly, a group of puppets at the beginner level and the great perfection of the immortal realm rushed out at the same time. Qin Feiyang also seemed to be tireless, killing as many as came out as he could. Clang! The power of the blood-red long sword suddenly rose to a new level. He now had a kind of confidence. Even puppets at the great perfection of the immortal realm could be killed with one slash. What kind of killing technique is this? Its power has increased so much, why hasn't it stopped? Could it be, this kind of killing technique can be absorbed endlessly? The mysterious man was surprised. He simply summoned a large number of puppets at the great perfection of the immortal realm. There were more than 3,000 of them. That battle array could simply be described as apocalyptic. Absorbing their blood should be enough to increase the power of the killing technique to the same level as last time. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. The blood of a perfected god was far more potent than that of a perfected battle god or perfected divine lord. This was a super tonic for the kill formula. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind as he wielded his blood-red sword and charged forward in a frenzy. Clang! Rumble! At first, it was very difficult to deal with these puppets. His body was also riddled with wounds. There were even a few times when he almost lost his life. However, as it continued to absorb and grow, the blood-red sword began to display its prowess. About half an hour passed. 3,000 golems at the paragon level had all perished beneath his sword. Clang! After absorbing the divine blood of these puppets, the power of the blood-red longsword increased by another level. This level was no different from the last time he fought the fiend ancestor. The mountain of corpses and sea of blood below had also been completely absorbed. Not a single drop of blood could be squeezed out of those corpses. The entire barrier was filled with the aura of death, as if it was hell. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look at the blood-red longsword and muttered, "It's time to fight back." Last time in the Sea of Reincarnation, when the blood-red longsword reached this level, even the two heaven-defying artifacts, Blood Blade and Snow, couldn't block it, let alone this grey castle. Taking a step back. Even if this grey castle was also a heaven-defying artifact, the blood-red longsword could still destroy it. Are you a descendant of Qin Badian? Suddenly, the mysterious man's voice sounded. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He raised his head to look at the grey castle and asked in surprise, "You also know my ancestor?" "Ancestor? You really are his descendant?" The mysterious man whispered. "You've seen him?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Yes. I've seen him," the mysterious man said. "When? Where is he?" Qin Feiyang was overjoyed and hurriedly said. He, many years ago. As for where he is now, I'm afraid you won't be able to find him. Because he has already been refined into a puppet by me." The mysterious man laughed. Refined into a puppet. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. Qin Feiyang, don't believe his nonsense. With your ancestor's methods, even if he isn't his opponent, it's impossible for him to be refined into a puppet. Madman shouted. Qin Feiyang suddenly recovered and sneered, "That's right, my ancestor is omnipotent, how could he fall into your hands? Break for me." With a loud shout, he raised his blood-red longsword and slashed at the death domain. Madman's eyes were filled with anticipation. Gotcha. Accompanied by a deafening sound, under Madman's expectant gaze, the death domain finally shattered. Madman was overjoyed and shouted, "Quickly, break my domain of death." Qin Feiyang took a step forward and slashed at the death domain that trapped Madman. Gotcha. The death domain also shattered instantly. After the domain of death shattered, the clouds of black mist also dissipated. In other words, the mysterious man could no longer summon a puppet. Madman laughed and shouted, "Let's go, destroy that grey castle." Madman grabbed the halberd. Qin Feiyang grabbed the blood-red longsword. The two's aura soared into the sky as they rushed above the grey castle and shouted at the same time. Slash! The halberd and blood-red longsword slashed at the grey castle with a world-destroying sharpness. Boom! The grey castle also suddenly released a dazzling divine light. "You want to destroy my main body with just the two of you? In your dreams." The mysterious man was disdainful. However, at the next moment, when the halberd and blood-red longsword fell, the grey castle was directly split in half with a deafening sound. "How is this possible?" the mysterious man exclaimed. His tone was no longer as arrogant as before, but with a strong sense of panic. "Main body?" Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other. Madman said in disbelief, "Is there something wrong with my ears? He actually said that this grey castle is his main body. I also heard him say that." Qin Feiyang said. Could it be? The two seemed to have thought of something and immediately looked at the grey castle, their eyes shining. Main body, originally, they all thought that this mysterious man was a living person. However, they didn't expect that he was the weapon spirit of the grey castle. For a weapon spirit to be so powerful, this grey castle must be a heaven-defying weapon. Continue. Madman shouted. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although it was a heaven-defying weapon, this time it really angered him. Clang! The two once again held the halberd and blood-red longsword and slashed at the grey castle. The halberd was still fine. The blood-red longsword emitted a sharp aura, making the weapon spirit of the grey castle almost despair. Qin Feiyang, madman, I will remember you, just wait for me. The weapon spirit roared with resentment, and the grey castle that was cut in half immediately rose into the air. Escape? Not a chance. Qin Feiyang and Madman shouted angrily. The halberd and blood-red longsword flew out of their hands. Clang! The grey castle, which had already been cut in half, was once again divided into 2 halves, becoming 4 halves. Its speed instantly dropped by a large margin. Qin Feiyang and Madman waved their hands and recalled the blood-red longsword and the halberd. Then, using the auxiliary technique, they chased after the grey castle like lightning and blocked it from the front and back. Damn it, damn it. If I knew earlier, I would have killed you at the first moment. The weapon spirit roared again and again. There is no such thing as if you knew earlier. But we knew that even if we could hold on for a month, you would definitely not let us go in the end. Madman sneered. Clang. Qin Feiyang shook the blood-red longsword in his hand, his aura firmly locked onto the grey castle, and said, "There is no medicine for regret in this world. You can only blame yourself for being careless and underestimating us. Now answer my question, where did you see my ancestor? You don't think I'm stupid? If I tell you, do I still have a way to live?" The weapon spirit sneered. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "As long as you didn't lie to me, I can let you go." "Really?" The weapon spirit asked. "I, Qin Feiyang, am a man of my word," Qin Feiyang said. The weapon spirit pondered for a moment and said, "It seems that more than 2,000 years ago, I saw him and Lu Xingyang in the deepest part of the Sky Dragon Sea." More than 2,000 years. Madman was slightly taken aback and asked suspiciously, "What were they doing in the deepest part of the Sky Dragon Sea?" "I don't know. Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang's methods are indeed terrifying as you said. Back then, they weren't very strong. I really wanted to refine them into puppets. But the result was the same as today. I was almost killed by them. Later, I escaped from the Sky Dragon Sea and have been hiding in the far west. But I didn't expect to meet their descendants now." The weapon spirit sighed and was a little depressed. Qin Feiyang said, "So where are my ancestors now?" "You don't know either. But according to my estimation, they should still be in the Sky Dragon Sea. Although I don't know what they are doing. But I vaguely feel that they are planning something," the weapon spirit said. "Sky Dragon Sea," Qin Feiyang muttered and said in a deep voice, "Then where did you get the potential pill and potential pill?" The weapon spirit said, "I snatched them from your ancestors." "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyang came to a realization and frowned, "Then why did you nurture that youth called Long Tianyu? So you really did learn of this sovereign's existence from him. How infuriating. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have helped him." The weapon spirit was furious. "Although Long Tianyu is young, he is very righteous and did not betray you. It was because I forcefully read his memories that I learned of your existence," Qin Feiyang said indifferently. "In that case, I wronged him," the weapon spirit said in a daze. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "Quickly answer my question. This sovereign is just feeling sorry for him. His parents, as well as his grandfather, actually didn't die an unnatural death. Instead, they were assassinated." The weapon spirit sighed. "What?" Qin Feiyang was shocked and said, "Who secretly killed them? Why did they secretly kill them?" After reading Long Tianyu's memories, he knew the cause of death of Long Tianyu's parents and grandfather. They all died under the claws of fierce beasts. But he did not expect that there was actually another secret. Chapter 2108. The artifact spirit said, "Their village chief." Village chief? Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other. That's right. Long Tianyu's mother wasn't from the village. She was brought back by Long Tianyu's father. She was quite beautiful. That village chief was lascivious. The moment she entered the village, he coveted her. But at that time, she was pregnant. The village chief had some misgivings and didn't dare to do anything. Not long after, Long Tianyu was born. The village chief couldn't hold back anymore. He tricked Long Tianyu's mother into an ice valley at the edge of the far west land and raped her. At this point, the artifact spirit paused and said, I believe that you should know what happened without me explaining. Qin Feiyang and Madman nodded. After being humiliated, Long Tianyu's mother thought that the village chief would let her go as long as she didn't say anything. But on the contrary, not only did the village chief not let her go, he even used Long Tianyu to threaten her and forced her to submit. Later, she couldn't bear such humiliation and told Long Tianyu's father. After learning of this, Long Tianyu's father couldn't help but want to kill. But in consideration of his reputation, he didn't say anything. The couple discussed and secretly asked the village chief to go out and kill him. But the village chief was stronger than them. In the end, not only did they not succeed, they died in the village chief's hands. The artifact spirit sighed. They're worse than beasts. Madman said angrily. Qin Feiyang also couldn't help but be angry. He asked, what happened later? Later, the village chief returned to the village and painfully told everyone that the couple had been clawed by ferocious beasts. He pretended to be a good person and took good care of Long Tianyu and Long Tianyu's grandfather. And the grandfather and grandson, who didn't know, were grateful to him. But one day, Long Tianyu's grandfather suddenly found a secret compartment in the house. There was a letter in the secret compartment. It was left behind by Long Tianyu's parents before they died. It was precisely because they were afraid of failure that they wrote down all the evil deeds of the village chief and hid them in the hidden compartment. After knowing the true cause of his son and daughter-in-law's death, Long Tianyu's grandfather was filled with grief. But he's just an ordinary old man. He's powerless to take revenge. Furthermore, the village chief is usually a nice guy in the village. Even if he were to announce the letter, no one would necessarily believe him. After much consideration, he thought of poisoning. But the result was obvious. He also failed and was killed by the village chief instead. Moreover, it was faked that he died under the claws of a vicious beast. In that case, Long Tianyu will truly become an orphan. The artifact spirit said. Madman asked, does Long Tianyu know about this? Before the artifact spirit could speak, Qin Feiyang said, he doesn't know, because I didn't read any of his memories. Yes. Long Tianyu doesn't know. Even now, he still thinks that the village chief is sincerely taking care of him. The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang asked, then how did you know? And how did you know it so clearly? The artifact spirit said, I was bored and suddenly encountered this matter. I felt that it was quite interesting, so I paid special attention to it. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, then why didn't you help them? Help? Based on what? They're just a bunch of ants. Are they worthy of this sovereign's help? The artifact spirit's tone was full of disdain. If that's the case, then why did you help Long Tianyu? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. This sovereign was moved by his perseverance. He entered the far west several times to search for opportunities and good fortune. The willpower he displayed during this period made this sovereign somewhat impressed. Later, he couldn't bear the invasion of the cold current and fainted on the snow. This sovereign couldn't bear it and kindly helped him. As for the truth, it was too big of a blow for a child of his age. Therefore, this sovereign has been hiding it from him. I wanted to wait for him to grow up before telling him, so that he can personally avenge his family. The artifact spirit said with a hint of doting love for Long Tianyu. Qin Feiyang said, it seems that you have developed feelings for Long Tianyu after being together with him for so many years. Yes. This child is sensible and obedient. He has always called me grandpa. As time passed, this sovereign began to treat him like a grandson. Otherwise, this sovereign wouldn't have given him the potential elixir, nor would I have nurtured him wholeheartedly. The artifact spirit said. Since you care so much about him, why didn't you keep him by your side? You must know that if you let him return to the village, he might be killed by the village chief. Qin Feiyang said. He's a child after all. How lonely would it be to let him stay here alone? He's a child. He must have a good childhood. That's why this sovereign let him return to the village. As for the village chief, this sovereign had secretly planted a wisp of death energy in his body 2 years ago. As long as he has the intention to kill Long Jianyu, this sovereign will be able to sense it immediately. The artifact spirit said. A good childhood, Qin Feiyang muttered. Inexplicably, he couldn't help but envy Long Jianyu. Because everyone wanted to have a good childhood. But they might not be able to do so. Just like him. Although after being expelled from the imperial capital, Uncle Yuan had always been by his side. However, his heart had never been at peace for a single day. Since 10 years ago, he had been burdened with hatred, suffering and torment. But Long Jianyu was different. Although Long Jianyu's background was also very miserable, he didn't know the truth now. He was still the same as before. He was an innocent child, enjoying the good childhood that a child should have. Moreover, there was also the Grey Castle silently protecting him. So in comparison, Long Jianyu was much happier than him. The artifact spirit suddenly said, "You are the descendant of Qin Batian. Then you should also have the pill formulas for the potential elixir." N. Qin Feiyang nodded. The artifact spirit was overjoyed and quickly said, "Then how about we discuss a condition?" "What condition?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. As the descendant of Qin Batian, your situation in the northern region is definitely not very good. However, this sovereign can help you. With this sovereign strength, even if you are facing the 2 palace masters and the 10 great elders of the 9 heavens palace, this sovereign can help you kill a bloody path. Furthermore, this sovereign can protect you and enter the heavenly dragon sea to search for the whereabouts of Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang. The artifact spirit said proudly. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. It was already very obvious that this Grey Castle was definitely a heaven-defying divine artifact. If the Grey Castle really helped him, then in the future, he would have more confidence in the 9 heavens palace. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang asked, "What is your condition?" The artifact spirit said, "Help this sovereign to nurture Long Jianyu." It's that simple. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang frowned, "With your ability, you shouldn't need me to help you nurture him, right?" "That's true. Although your killing technique is heaven-defying, whether it is cultivation or experience, compared to this sovereign, they are far inferior. However, this sovereign only has a little potential pill and a few other potential pills. I don't have any other pills that can open the gate of potential." The artifact spirit said. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang was enlightened. Madman suddenly transmitted his voice, "Kid, be careful, this might be a stalling tactic." A stalling tactic. Qin Feiyang was shocked. If not for Madman's reminder, he would have forgotten that the slaughter domain had a time limit. The slaughter domain could only be maintained for an hour. More than half of it had already passed. In other words, there was not much time left for the slaughter domain to open. Once the slaughter domain ended, he would undoubtedly become a lamb again. Unless it recognized him as its master or controlled him. However, he had no way to forcefully recognize or control such a heaven-defying divine artifact. Wait a minute. The fact that the slaughter domain had a time limit, other than himself and the people around him, no one else knew about it. Therefore, as long as he didn't say anything, Grey Castle would probably think that he could open the slaughter domain at any time. As such, Grey Castle naturally wouldn't dare to act rashly. That wouldn't do. The artifact spirit had witnessed the entire process of opening the slaughter domain. Even if he didn't know that the slaughter domain had a time limit, he must have seen that the slaughter domain needed to absorb a large amount of blood to display its power. With Grey Castle's strength, it was completely capable of killing him while he was in the process of opening the slaughter domain and absorbing blood. In other words, if he didn't take the opportunity to destroy Grey Castle now, anything could happen in the future. However, wasn't it too much of a pity to destroy such a heaven-defying divine artifact? Was there any way to get the best of both worlds? What? You don't believe this sovereign's words and are afraid that this sovereign will plot against you? Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't speak for a long time, the artifact spirit was suspicious. Yes. Qin Feiyang didn't deny it. Because there was no need. I didn't expect you to be such a vigilant person. How about this sovereign will let you recognize me as your master first. When we find Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang, you can remove the blood contract. The artifact spirit said. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he looked at the Grey Castle with an astonished expression. It actually took the initiative to recognize him as its master. Hey, do you think I don't exist? When Madman heard these words, he couldn't sit still because it was obvious that Grey Castle didn't play any tricks. They were sincere in wanting to help Qin Feiyang. Then he couldn't continue to stand idly by. After all, it was a heaven-defying divine artifact. Such a big advantage, how could he give it to Qin Feiyang? You have an opinion? The artifact spirit was suspicious. Of course. Look at me, in terms of talent, I'm stronger than Qin Feiyang. In terms of status, I'm also higher than Qin Feiyang. If you follow me, I guarantee that you'll live a good life. As for training Long Tianyu, that's not a problem for me. It's as simple as drinking tea and chatting. Madman said. Qin Feiyang's face turned black. This was clearly trying to poach him. The artifact spirit pondered for a while and said, it seems to make sense, but can you refine pills like the potential pill? This, Madman was quite happy at first, but when he heard the second half of the sentence, he shrank back. He didn't even have the pill recipe, let alone refining these pills. Moreover, even if he had the pill recipe, he couldn't refine it. Because he wasn't an alchemist at all. If you can't refine it, why are you still interrupting? Get lost. The artifact spirit shouted ruthlessly. Chapter 2109. The madman's expression stiffened. Although I can't refine it, with my face, what kind of pill can't I get? The artifact spirit said, is that so? Of course. The madman nodded and pointed at Qin Feiyang. If you don't believe me, ask this kid. If I ask him for a pill, will he not give it to me? Qin Feiyang grinned and looked at the madman. Sorry, what did you say? I don't understand. A row of black lines appeared on the madman's forehead. He glared at Qin Feiyang and roared, can't you cooperate? If it's the truth, I will definitely cooperate with you. But bragging, forget it. We have to be honest people. Qin Feiyang chuckled. You want me to cooperate with you when you're trying to steal my woman? Do you think I'm stupid? The madman gritted his teeth in anger. Is there a need to do this? Yesterday before entering the land of the far west, didn't you say that if there is any treasure, you will give it to me? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Fuck. What I mean is, ordinary treasures. But this is an ordinary treasure. This is a heaven-defying artifact. It might even control the power of laws. The madman thought. Qin Feiyang said, fine, let's be fair and let the artifact spirit choose. If the artifact spirit chooses, it will definitely choose you. The madman was furious. If he could refine a pill that could open the door of potential, then he had an absolute chance of winning. Then you can't blame me. Who told you not to be an alchemist? Qin Feiyang smiled proudly. The madman was furious. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have brought this guy along. Qin Feiyang looked at the Grey Castle and said, you said it yourself. I didn't force you. Yes. But let's talk about the ugly things first. If you don't help me break the blood contract when I find Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang, I will take you down with me even if I have to destroy my own body. The artifact spirit snorted coldly, his tone filled with a bone-piercing chill. All right. It's a deal. Qin Feiyang cut his finger and a drop of purple-gold dragon blood seeped out and entered the grey castle. The artifact spirit really didn't resist. Very soon. The master recognition process was complete. Qin Feiyang finally let out a sigh of relief and closed the slaughter domain. The blood-red sword in his hand also dissipated. As soon as the slaughter domain disappeared, the bone-piercing cold current surged violently. Madman pursed his lips and formed a barrier to protect Qin Feiyang. He was very reluctant to do so. Because right now, he was very depressed. He had spent so much effort, but in the end, he didn't get anything. Instead, it all went to Qin Feiyang. Just thinking about it made him unhappy. However, if Qin Feiyang really froze to death here, it would be troublesome. Thank you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Scram! Madman shouted coldly. Just looking at it made him angry. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He turned to look at the grey castle and asked, "Your main body should be able to repair itself, right?" "Of course." The artifact spirit said proudly. Qin Feiyang said again, "Then can you let us take a look inside your main body?" He was very curious about the inside of the grey castle. You are now considered this sovereign's master. If you want to go in, it's just a thought. There is no need to get this sovereign's permission, right? The artifact spirit was a little speechless. Isn't this a form of respect for you? Qin Feiyang laughed. Respect? The artifact spirit was stunned and laughed hoarsely. This is the first time this sovereign has heard that a human would respect an artifact spirit. You are indeed different. Alright, after this sovereign has repaired my main body, I will let you go in and take a look. Alright. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then this sovereign will borrow your body. After the artifact spirit said that, the grey castle quickly shrank and entered Qin Feiyang's body in an instant. It floated in his qi sea and flickered with a hazy light. This is really infuriating. Madman stared at Qin Feiyang with a face full of envy and jealousy. This is my character. In this matter, your character is still not as good as mine. Qin Feiyang laughed. Look at how cocky you are. Madman said with a face full of contempt, but you can't let this daddy come here for nothing, right? What do you want? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. After obtaining the grey castle, he was in a good mood. You have to give this daddy something. How about this, give this daddy your spatial divine item. This daddy doesn't mind. Madman said. You don't mind? I can't bear to. Don't even think about it. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. He knew that this guy wanted the black tortoise world. It's just a spatial divine item, is there a need for you? Madman despised. Qin Feiyang waved his hand impatiently and said, okay, stop talking nonsense, hurry up and go back. How could Madman be willing? He had to get some benefits. Qin Feiyang said angrily, I say, what do you want? What's the point of being so wishy-washy for a man? Do you know that this is a classic example of taking advantage of others? Madman was instantly furious. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and said, okay, this time I owe you a favor. If you need anything in the future, just come and find me. After all, it was Madman who brought him to the far west land. He also did his best on the way. As a person, he couldn't only care about himself. That's more like it. Madman's anger subsided a lot. Then, with Qin Feiyang, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared like lightning. In the evening, two figures flew out of the far west land. It was Qin Feiyang and Madman. Madman asked, are we going back now? To see Tianyu. A hoarse voice sounded from Qin Feiyang's body. It was the artifact spirit. Madman sneered, "You are quite concerned about him." The artifact spirit ignored him and asked, "Are you going back to Nine Heaven Palace next?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then do you want to bring Long Tianyu with you?" "I don't feel at ease leaving him here alone." The artifact spirit was worried. This, Qin Feiyang turned to look at Madman. "This won't do. The rules of Nine Heaven Palace are that one must be at least a war god and pass the official test to enter Nine Heaven Palace." Madman shook his head. The artifact spirit was hesitant. "How about this, let's ask his opinion first and see if he wants to stay in the village or go with us." Qin Feiyang said. "Okay." The artifact spirit replied. Qin Feiyang retracted his aura, opened an altar, and teleported to the sky above the village. In the evening, the village was brightly lit. Many people were taking a walk outside to enjoy the shade. Children were also playing happily. However, they couldn't find Long Tianyu in the village. Where did he go? Qin Feiyang frowned. Shua. The Grey Castle appeared and said, "This noble one guesses that he must be cultivating in a secret room in his home." Secret room? Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Yes. I've warned him that when he cultivates, he must find a secluded place. Because I gave him a lot of battle chi pills. And they were all battle chi pills with 5 veins and above. If other people in the village saw these battle chi pills, especially the village chief, they would definitely be greedy. So when he came back from the far west, he dug a secret room under his bedroom. At night, he would cultivate in the secret room." The artifact spirit said. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he carefully looked at Long Tianyu's memories that he had read. There was indeed such a thing. After reading the memories, he also knew where Long Tianyu's home was. Shua. He took a step and instantly landed in a remote corner on the left side of the village. There was a small wooden house in this corner. There was only one floor. It was very shabby. There were no other houses within a few hundred meters. It seemed a little lonely. This was Long Tianyu's home. In fact, Long Tianyu didn't live here in the past. His family originally lived not far from the entrance of the village. There were many neighbors. It was only after his grandfather passed away that he moved here. On one hand, it was to be able to cultivate in peace. On the other hand, because of the death of his parents and grandfather, his personality became a little lonely. He didn't like to live too close to others. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled. But just as Qin Feiyang, Madman, and the Grey Castle were about to walk out of the small wooden house, a black shadow suddenly flew over from afar. Qin Feiyang and Madman frowned. If this black shadow was out in the open, they wouldn't think too much about it. However, that black shadow was very sneaky. It didn't make the slightest bit of sound. Who is he? Madman was suspicious. Chapter 21:10. Walking to the window of the bedroom, the village chief looked at the closed window and hesitated for a moment. In the end, he raised his hand and gently pushed it open. There was an oil lamp inside. The candlelight flickered, making the bedroom seem a little dark. The bedroom was also very simple. Apart from a shabby desk, there was only a wooden bed. However, it was very neat and clean. On the wooden bed, a 13-year-old boy was lying on his side, covered with a blanket and sleeping soundly. He didn't cultivate. The Grey Castle's spirit was a little surprised. After all, he is still young. If we let him cultivate every night, how can his body bear it? Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. That makes sense. The spirit muttered. He is actually sleeping today. The village chief looked at the boy on the wooden bed with a stunned expression. Obviously, This wasn't the first time he came to monitor Long Tianyu. Madman secretly said, this person has long been suspicious of Long Tianyu. If he continues to stay in the village, I am afraid he will be in danger sooner or later. This lord thinks so too. This bastard is worse than a pig or a dog. If not for wanting to let Tianyu deal with him himself, I really want to kill him now. The spirit transmitted his voice, his tone carrying a dense killing intent. Time passed bit by bit. After waiting for about half an hour, the village chief still didn't see Long Tianyu wake up. Seems like there won't be any harvest tonight. What a waste of time. I might as well have a good time with Long Dayu's wife. Speaking of that woman, my heart itches. She is even more interesting than this little bastard's mother. Wait, it seems that Long Dayu went to the town yesterday and will only be back after a few days. This is a good opportunity. Let's go find that slut now. With that, the village chief had a lewd smile on his face as he turned around and left quickly. Indeed a bastard. Madman's face was filled with disgust. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he turned to look at the grey castle and transmitted his voice, you chat with Long Tianyu. I will follow the village chief to take a look. Others are going to have fun, what are you going to look for? Peeping. I really didn't expect you to be so wretched at such a young age. The artifact spirit said disdainfully. Qin Feiyang's face twitched as he said in annoyance, I'm just going to see if that big fish Long's wife was also forced. What are you thinking about? I see. The artifact spirit smiled awkwardly and said, then you go. We'll meet at the village entrance. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at the grey castle and turned around to chase after the village chief. I'm going to join in the fun too. Madman chuckled and quickly chased after him. Human men are indeed beasts. The grey castle said disdainfully, then turned into a stream of light and flew into the bedroom. Following closely. A grey figure flew out from the grey castle. It was the artifact spirit. Tianyu. Unable to see his true appearance, the artifact spirit walked to the bedside and pushed Long Tianyu. Long Tianyu immediately got up with a start, his little face full of vigilance. But when she saw the artifact spirit, her little face immediately lit up with joy as she called out, Grandpa Hui. Brat, you slept quite soundly. The artifact spirit laughed hoarsely, full of doting. Isn't this too tiring? That's why I want to rest. Grandpa Hui, I'm not slacking off. I usually work very hard. Look at me now, I've already broken through to the 3-star War Emperor. I've also completely grasped the perfect battle art that you gave me. If you don't believe me, I'll show you a few moves. Long Tianyu raised his head and said in a fluster. Alright, what's there to show? Grandpa didn't blame you. This time, Grandpa came over to tell you something. Grandpa will be going to the 9-Heaven Palace later. I'm afraid I won't be able to see you in the future. Grandpa wants to ask you, do you want to go with Grandpa? The artifact spirit asked with a smile. 9-Heaven Palace. Long Tianyu was slightly startled, and his little face was immediately filled with excitement and yearning. Obviously. He had long heard of the existence of the 9-Heaven Palace from the artifact spirit. However, after the excitement, he was somewhat hesitant. Don't worry, take your time to think about it. Grandpa won't force you. The artifact spirit laughed. When interacting with Long Tianyu, there wasn't the slightest bit of hostility. A dignified heaven-defying artifact, no. To be exact, it should be considered a heaven-defying demon. A demon actually had such a gentle side. It was truly hard to imagine. On the other side, Qin Feiyang and Madman were like two ghosts, following not far behind the village chief. Why are you following us? Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Fuck. Wherever I go is my freedom. Why do you care? Madman raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang looked at him helplessly, turned his head to look at the village chief's back, and secretly said, "Tell me, if that Long Dayu's wife was also forced, what should we do?" "Nonsense. Of course we should castrate him, chop him into 8 pieces and feed him to the dogs." Madman sneered. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and said in surprise, "I didn't expect you to hate evil so much." "What do you mean?" Madman was slightly startled, and frowned. "Am I usually very hateful?" "No, no, no. Very domineering, very invincible." Qin Feiyang hurriedly smiled. Madman smiled proudly and said proudly, "As a person, you have to be domineering, otherwise you will only be bullied." "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Speaking of which, what was the domain you opened in the far west this morning?" Madman looked curiously at Qin Feiyang. "Slaughter domain." Qin Feiyang didn't hide it. "Slaughter domain?" Madman was startled, and frowned. "I seem to have heard that during the test, you were at the bottom of the sky stairway and were troubled by Feng Wenhai, so you also opened this slaughter domain?" N. Qin Feiyang nodded, and said contemptuously, "If it wasn't for Shengguan Fenglan's appearance, Feng Wenhai would have already become a ghost under my sword." Madman was stunned, and said with a playful smile, "This Feng Wenhai probably still doesn't know that Shengguan Fenglan indirectly saved his life." "Don't just talk about me. When are you going to show me your true trump card?" Qin Feiyang secretly said. "Me? The methods I showed in the morning are all of my strength." Madman chuckled. "Do you think I will believe you?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Madman pouted and said lightly, "Forget it if you don't believe me." About 10 breaths later, the village chief looked around and turned into an alley. Qin Feiyang and Madman also followed in. Not long after, the village chief stopped in front of a house, and looked around sneakily. Seeing that there was no one around, he gently knocked on the door. Not long after, the door opened. A woman appeared in his line of sight. The woman was about 30 years old, and although she was dressed very plainly, her figure was quite good, and she was still charming. "It's you." When the woman saw the village chief, her face turned pale, and she quickly closed the door. However, the village chief quickly raised his hand and pushed the door open, and even the woman was forced back a few steps. Then the village chief walked in and closed the door behind him. "What are you doing?" The woman was terrified. "Long Dayu is not here, what are you doing? Also, keep your voice down, don't let the neighbors hear you." The village chief leaned against the door, holding his chin, and his eyes unscrupulously scanned the woman's body. The woman's face was pale, and she suddenly knelt on the ground and begged, "Please let me go, okay? I don't want to let Dayu down." Hearing this, the village chief rushed over angrily and slapped the woman's face. "It's your fortune that I like you, don't be so shameless. Besides, it's not our first time. If you want to say that you've let down Long Dayu, you've already let him down." After the village chief finished speaking, he sat on a chair in the hall and said with a smile, "Crawl over here." The woman didn't seem to hear it, and she was paralyzed there in despair. "Didn't you hear me? Do you want me to kill Long Dayu? Okay. Once Long Dayu is dead, I can come to find you even more unscrupulously. You know that I have the ability. After all, my son is now a disciple of 9 Heaven Palace." The village chief laughed. "What? His son is also a disciple of 9 Heaven Palace?" Inside the Black Tortoise world, Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other. After the village chief closed the door, they naturally couldn't directly barge in. Therefore, Qin Feiyang brought Madman into the Black Tortoise world, and then sneaked into the hall without anyone noticing. Because of this, they heard every word of the village chief. "Don't kill Dayu." At the same time, the woman's body stiffened, and she hurriedly looked at the village chief and shouted, "Then crawl over here. As long as you serve me well, I guarantee that Long Dayu will be safe." the village chief said. The woman crawled toward the village chief in despair, her eyes filled with tears. The village chief looked at the woman with a face of satisfaction. Preposterous, preposterous. This beast is simply the shame of my northern region. Madman was furious. Not only did he take someone else's wife, he even threatened him so blatantly. This was intolerable. Qin Feiyang's heart was also burning with anger. The village chief didn't realize that danger was coming. He lay on the chair and said, "Take off your clothes and crawl onto me." The woman sobbed and could only begin to undress. How impressive. But at this moment, a cold and bone-chilling voice sounded. Following closely, two figures appeared out of thin air in the hall. It was Qin Feiyang and Madman. Who is it? The village chief suddenly stood up. The woman also retreated to the side in panic. The person who wants your life. Madman laughed sinisterly. It's you guys. The village chief looked at the two and said in shock and anger. Yesterday, when Qin Feiyang and Madman broke into the village and read Long Tianyu's memories, the village chief was actually present. But at that time, he didn't say anything. He even hoped that Qin Feiyang could kill Long Tianyu. So, when he saw Qin Feiyang and Madman's faces, he immediately recognized them. Yes, it's us. Madman took a step forward and instantly landed in front of the village chief. Then, he stretched out his arm like lightning and grabbed the village chief's neck. The village chief wanted to resist, but he was shocked to find that the young man's strength was too great. He couldn't move at all. At the same time, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and condensed a barrier that covered the entire hall. The next movement would definitely be a bit big. So it was better to soundproof it so as not to alarm the other people in the village. After all, this wasn't something to be proud of. You dare to touch me? Do you know who my son is? The village chief roared in horror. The madman shouted, Then do you know who I am? The village chief looked at Madman and sneered, Looking at you, I know that you must be a little boy. And my son is a disciple of Nine Heaven Palace, you can never afford to offend him. Chapter 21:11. Disciple of Nine Heaven Palace. I can't afford to offend them. Madman was stunned. He even said that he was just a small fry. What? Are you afraid? No matter how strong you are, can you be compared to the disciples of Nine Heaven Palace? Let me go right now, kneel on the ground and apologize to me. Otherwise, when I tell my son, you will all die. The village chief looked at Madman and Qin Feiyang with disdain. Madman was stunned. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything, so he thought that the two were afraid. All of a sudden, he became arrogant and inflated. Madman laughed. Was there anyone in Nine Heaven Palace that he couldn't afford to offend? He probably wasn't even born yet. Qin Feiyang also laughed. Ignorance was really scary. Madman was someone who dared to kill in front of everyone in Nine Heaven Palace. Why would he care about a mere disciple? Even if it was an earth and heaven ranking disciple, he would kill them without hesitation. Why aren't you letting me go? Do you believe that I won't tell my son to wipe out your entire family? The village chief roared. Interesting, interesting. I really want to see what kind of person your son really is. What gave you the courage to say that you will wipe out my entire family? Madman laughed and punched the village chief in the stomach. He then let go and the village chief fell to the ground, holding his stomach as he cried out in pain. You are dead. I will immediately send a message to my son. Just you wait. The village chief roared with hatred. No need to be so troublesome. I will directly bring you to Nine Heaven Palace. Madman grinned. The village chief was stunned. Directly to Nine Heaven Palace. Were these two also disciples of Nine Heaven Palace? Madman grabbed the village chief and looked at Qin Feiyang. Let's go. Qin Feiyang glanced at the woman and said, you go first. I will find you at the entrance of the village later. Madman was startled and asked suspiciously, why are you staying? Don't tell me you've also taken a fancy to her. He quickly moved to Qin Feiyang's side and said in a low voice, brother, your appetite is a bit too heavy. Although this woman is indeed somewhat beautiful, she's already quite old and she's someone else's wife. This, the more Qin Feiyang listened, the more he felt that something was amiss. Did she think that he stayed because of this woman's beauty? His face instantly darkened, and he said angrily, scram. What was he thinking about all day long? All right. As long as you're happy. The madman waved his hand, grabbed the village chief, and left. Before leaving, he didn't forget to look at Qin Feiyang with disdain. Your thoughts are not pure. Qin Feiyang was helpless. He walked to the woman and said with a smile, get up. The woman also retreated in a fluster. Because she had also heard what the madman had said before. Don't worry, I don't have any thoughts about you. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Did he lack beauties? He never lacked beauties. How could he do such a thing? She underestimated Qin Feiyang too much. Hearing this, the woman didn't relax. Her face was still full of panic. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly and said, I believe you also know that this matter is not glorious, so it's best to hide it from your husband. But the village chief, the woman said. Don't worry, from now on, he will disappear without a trace. But you have to keep your mouth shut about what happened tonight. In other words, even if someone asks you about the village chief's whereabouts in the future, you have to pretend that you don't know anything, understand? Qin Feiyang said. Yes. The woman nodded repeatedly. All right then, live well. Don't feel sorry for your husband. After all, you were forced to do this. Qin Feiyang smiled. Thank you. The woman said gratefully. She slowly realized that the young man in front of her did not have any malicious intentions. Instead, he was enlightening her and teaching her how to deal with the aftermath. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to leave. Outside the village, beside the stream. When Qin Feiyang arrived, he only saw Madman and the village chief. Madman had an angry smile on his face. The village chief's attitude was also very arrogant. Qin Feiyang glanced at the village chief, then looked at Madman and said, he's still arrogant. How can you use the word arrogant to describe him? He doesn't put Madman in his eyes at all. Madman said angrily. Qin Feiyang glanced at the village chief and smiled, I have to admit, your guts are really big. Is it very funny? You just wait and see. When we reach Nine Heavens Palace, you will be like him, kneeling in front of my son and begging for mercy. The village chief looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. Ah! Qin Feiyang was stunned, can't you see that we are also disciples of Nine Heavens Palace? So what? Can you compare to my son? The village chief said proudly. Qin Feiyang's expression froze and asked curiously, then dare I ask, what rank is your son in Nine Heavens Palace? If I tell you, you will be scared to death. The village chief said. Qin Feiyang smiled, then tell us, let's see if you can scare us to death. Listen well, my son is now an earth-ranking disciple of Nine Heavens Palace. Ranked 10th. The village chief said with a face full of arrogance. Ah! Qin Feiyang was stunned again. Earth ranking 10th. At most, he was just a perfect war god, and he thought he was strong. Afraid, but it's too late. I will definitely make you pay the price for offending me. The village chief sneered. Qin Feiyang nodded, yes, we are afraid, we are afraid. You are a great person, don't bother with us. The village chief was even more proud. However, He didn't notice that Madman's eyes were filled with disdain. He didn't even put a heaven-ranking disciple in his eyes, let alone an earth-ranking disciple. Of course. This village chief did have the right to be arrogant. After all, an earth-ranking disciple had a certain status in Nine Heavens Palace. Qin Feiyang was too lazy to talk nonsense with the village chief. He looked around and asked Madman, "They still haven't arrived?" Madman nodded. So. But before he finished, the grey castle brought Long Tianyu with it as it broke through the air and landed in front of Qin Feiyang and Long Tianyu. When the village chief saw Long Tianyu, he was stunned. When Long Tianyu saw the village chief, a trace of surprise appeared on his face. But when he saw Qin Feiyang and Madman, he panicked and shouted, "Grandpa Gray, yesterday it was them, Grandpa knows what happened yesterday. That was just a misunderstanding." The grey castle's spirit laughed. "What? It can actually speak?" The village chief looked at the grey castle with his mouth agape. The grey castle ignored him and smiled at Long Tianyu. "Tianyu, they are the two big brothers that Grandpa told you about. From now on, follow them and listen to them. Do you understand?" Long Tianyu looked at the two of them in fear. Yesterday when Qin Feiyang controlled him and read his memories, it made him wish he was dead. So until now, he was still a little afraid. "Don't be afraid. They are my friends. Yesterday, they didn't know about our relationship." The grey castle said. "I see." Long Tianyu nodded his head. He looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman and smiled politely, "Hello big brothers." Qin Feiyang smiled. Madman pouted and looked at the grey castle. "Is it over?" "If it is, we will return to Nine Heavens Palace." "Wait. What is going on with him?" the artifact spirit asked. It seemed like he was talking about the village chief. Madman said expressionlessly, "He is doing something immoral again, so I couldn't take it anymore and attacked." "You really won't change. That's good. Once we get rid of this problem, everything is over," the artifact spirit said. He wanted to let Long Tianyu deal with him, but now that Madman and Qin Feiyang attacked, there was nothing he could say. Moreover, it was good to get rid of such a person, in case he harmed others. "Then, I will leave Tianyu to you." "Right, I didn't tell Tianyu about your true identity," the grey castle said to Qin Feiyang in secret. Then, it entered Qin Feiyang's body and continued to repair its body. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang looked at Long Tianyu and then at Madman. Madman waved his hand and opened an altar. He grabbed the village chief and jumped up. Qin Feiyang carried Long Tianyu and landed beside Madman. Long Tianyu looked at the village chief and then at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Big brother, is Grandpa village chief going to Nine Heaven Palace too?" "Yes. He made a mistake and is going to Nine Heaven Palace to be punished." Qin Feiyang smiled. "What mistake did he make?" "Grandpa village chief is a good person." Long Tianyu didn't understand. Qin Feiyang rubbed Long Tianyu's head and smiled, "This is a matter between us adults, a kid like you shouldn't interfere." "Oh." Long Tianyu nodded. After opening dozens of altars, the four of them finally arrived at the bottom of the stairway. "This is Nine Heaven Palace." Long Tianyu looked at the stairway curiously. Qin Feiyang nodded. Madman looked at the village chief and grinned, "Old fart, just you wait. You will see your son soon." The village chief laughed coldly, "Then, it will be the time of your death." Madman laughed. He grabbed the village chief and stepped onto the stairway. Whing! The stairway buzzed. This was because the village chief wasn't someone from Nine Heaven Palace, so the stairway gave off a warning. The white-haired old man sitting beside the stairway suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Madman. "Outsiders aren't allowed to enter Nine Heaven Palace." Madman's expression froze. He turned to look at the white-haired old man and said unhappily, "Old man, is there a need to be so strict? This is the rule." The white-haired old man said indifferently. "Make an exception." Madman smiled. He seemed to be afraid of the white-haired old man. "No." The white-haired old man shook his head. And here I was thinking how powerful you were. You can't even order a gatekeeper old man around. If it was my son, would he not give face?" The village chief sneered mercilessly. Gatekeeper old man." Qin Fei Yang and Madman were stunned. This person really wasn't afraid of death. Did he know how strong this old man was? The white-haired old man glanced at the village chief, but there wasn't any anger on his face. It was as if nothing could affect his indifferent state of mind. "Old man, I really have something to do. Can you make an exception?" Madman looked at the white-haired old man and said. Look, he's not giving you face. If you don't have the ability, then don't be arrogant." The village chief laughed. Chapter 21:12. Shut up. Madman slapped village chief's face with the back of his hand. He was already annoyed, but the village chief didn't know what was good for him and kept nagging at the side. Wasn't he looking for a beating? "Little bastard, you hit me. Just you wait, you're dead. Even if the heavens come down, they won't be able to save you." The village chief roared. The white-haired old man looked at the village chief curiously and asked, "Frenzy, where did you bring this mad dog back from?" "Old thing, what did you say? A guard dog dares to be so rude to me. Do you know who my son is? Do you believe that I'll get my son to kill you later?" The village chief stared at the white-haired old man and roared. Seeing this scene, Frenzy and Qin Fei Yang looked at each other. He actually scolded. He must be tired of living. The white-haired old man looked at the village chief and then at Frenzy. "I'll make an exception this time and let you bring him in." "Thank you." Frenzy laughed and immediately grabbed Frenzy and flew up. Qin Fei Yang led Long Tianyu to the white-haired old man and asked, "Senior, what about this child?" "Him." The white-haired old man sized up Long Tianyu and pondered for a moment before saying, "At most 1 day." "Thank you, senior." Qin Fei Yang cupped his hands and expressed his gratitude. Then, he gave Long Tianyu a meaningful glance. Long Tianyu might be young, but he was very sensible. He immediately understood and bowed to the white-haired old man. "Thank you, Grandpa." The white-haired old man gave a rare smile and then closed his eyes, ignoring Qin Fei Yang in frenzy. "Let's go." Qin Fei Yang pulled Long Tianyu and walked up the stairway. The moment Long Tianyu walked up the stairway started to give off a warning. And the higher they went, the louder the sound became. Finally, the sound of the stairway was like a bell that resounded in the sky above the 9-heaven palace. What's going on? This is the stairway's warning. Did someone barge into the 9-heaven palace? That's not right. The stairway to heaven is guarded. How could anyone break in? Let's go and take a look. In an instant, the 9-heavens palace was in an uproar. Regardless of whether it was the people outside or inside, they all rushed towards the stairway. Because the master of the stairway to heaven was the vice-palace lord. Therefore, even if the white-haired old man agreed, the warning would not disappear. This is 9-heaven palace. So big, how magical, the beasts over there are so strong. When he reached the top of the stairway to heaven, Long Tianyu's heart couldn't help but tremble when he saw the majestic scene before him. The village chief was also dumbfounded. Because this was also his first time entering the 9-heavens palace, he was deeply shocked by the scene before him. Lunatic? Jiang Haotian? A surprised voice was heard. Following closely, a familiar figure broke through the air and landed on the square. It was Cheng Li. The outer sanctum was the closest to the stairway to heaven, so as an outer sanctum elder, he was the first to rush over. Who are they? Qingli asked with a frown when he saw the village chief and Long Tianyu. It has nothing to do with you, scram to the side. Lunatic grabbed the village chief and flew into the air. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything. He brought Long Tianyu and followed behind Madman, flying towards the inner sect. Looking at the attitude of the two, Qingli's eyes flashed with a cold light as he angrily said, "Lunatic, Jiang Haotian, you guys are too presumptuous. You actually dare to bring outsiders into the Nine Heaven Palace. If you speak any more nonsense, this daddy will kill you." Lunatic turned around and stared at Qingli. Qingli's pupils immediately shrank as a chill appeared in his heart. Qin Feiyang pointed below the stairway to heaven and smiled, "Elder, this matter has already been approved by that old man." "What?" Qingli was stunned. "It's senior brother Lunatic and Jiang Haotian. Who are that man and child? Why were they brought to the Nine Heaven Palace? Wait. Did you guys notice that senior brother Lunatic's expression is very bad?" Along the way, no one dared to block them. But looking at the back of Qin Feiyang and Lunatic, everyone was filled with suspicion. Inner Sect. The Crimson Gold Divine Tower was located at the peak of the mountain, giving off a majestic and ancient aura. Lunatic and Qin Feiyang brought the village chief and Long Tianyu to the square in front of the Crimson Gold Divine Tower. Qin Feiyang glanced at the village chief and smiled, "This is where your son cultivates." "He cultivates in such a place. One look and I can tell that this place is different. Looks like that kid didn't lie to me. He is someone with status in the Nine Heaven Palace. You guys are all dead." The village chief smiled proudly. "Ignorance is scary." Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Even now, he was still so proud. He was so stupid that no medicine could save him. The village chief didn't notice and shouted, "Son, come out. Someone wants to kill your daddy." Behind them, there were already many people surrounding them. Hearing the village chief's words, everyone looked at the village chief in shock. "Son. What was going on?" At the same time, the first level of the Crimson Gold Divine Tower. A black-clothed youth sat on the ground with a face filled with shock. "This seems to be father's voice. But isn't he at home? Why would he appear in the Nine Heaven Palace? It should be an illusion." The black-clothed youth muttered and closed his eyes, not bothering about it. "Ryuko, I am calling you. Do you hear me? Very soon." Another angry roar sounded. "It's really father. But what is going on? Why is father in the Nine Heaven Palace? Wait. Was the warning from the stairway because of father? No. Father said that someone wants to kill him. Father is asking for help." He got up and left the Crimson Gold Divine Tower with killing intent. He shouted, "Who is so bold to hurt my father?" Outside. Long Xiang's voice also came out of the Crimson Gold Divine Pagoda, echoing above the Divine Pagoda for a long time. "Just you wait. Next year today will be the anniversary of your death." When the village chief heard Ryuko's voice, he immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman and sneered. The corner of Madman's mouth lifted slightly, full of ridicule. "I understand. It's probably that Ryuko's father accidentally offended Madman, so Madman brought him into the Nine Heaven Palace to find trouble with Ryuko. Your guess shouldn't be too far from the truth. Is this person stupid? He actually dared to offend senior brother Madman. The most ridiculous thing is that he thought that his son Ryuko can support him. What an idiot. Who doesn't know senior brother Madman's means? Even a heavenless disciple can't enter senior brother Madman's eyes, let alone a mere earthless disciple." The disciples gathered at the back slowly guessed the general situation and whispered. Their faces were full of ridicule. Boom! The door of the Crimson Gold Divine Tower opened. A black-clothed youth strode out, his face full of anger. It was Ryuko. He glanced around and raised his head to look at the village chief. Seeing that madman and Qin Feiyang were also there, he was slightly stunned. Immediately, he hurriedly flew up and cupped his hands. Thank you for bringing my father into the Nine-Heaven Palace. Son, why are you thanking them? The village chief frowned. Of course I have to thank them. They brought you into the Nine-Heaven Palace, this is a great kindness. Ryuko said. He still didn't know about the grudge between the village chief and Qin Feiyang. He only thought that Qin Feiyang and Madman were kind enough to bring his father into the Nine-Heaven Palace. After saying that, Ryuko ignored the stunned village chief and turned to look at Long Tianyu who was standing beside Qin Feiyang. He smiled and said, Tianyu, you're here too. Long Tianyu giggled and said, Brother Xiang, long time no see. After all, they were from the same village, so they must be very familiar with each other. Ryuko looked at village chief and Long Tianyu and asked, Father, Tianyu, who wants to kill you? Hurry up and tell me, I'll take you to destroy him right away. Kill him? Madman said. Yes. How dare he bully the family of Ryuko. Even if he is the god of heaven, I will not let him off. Ryuko said coldly. Really? So, you want to kill me? The madman smiled playfully as he looked at Ryuko. What? Ryuko was stunned. He quickly looked at the madman and smiled, how could I kill you? I'm talking about the person who wanted to kill my father. Village chief cried out, Son, they are the ones who want to kill me. Them. Chapter 21:13. Is this person from the countryside? Does he think that an earth role disciple is invincible? Even a heaven role disciple doesn't dare to be arrogant in front of senior brother Madman. What is an earth role disciple? Just watch, Ryuko Yang will definitely be killed by him. Everyone looked at the village chief with disdain in their eyes. Ryuko Yang saw that the village chief not only didn't restrain himself, but instead became even more aggressive, making him anxious. Pa! He raised his hand and slapped the village chief's face. The village chief was stunned on the spot. Ryuko Yang wasn't in the mood to mess around with the village chief, as long as he could shut the village chief up. Immediately after, he knelt down in the air and looked at Madman, Senior brother, this must be a misunderstanding. Please be magnanimous and don't bother with us, okay? The village chief was a vain person to begin with. After being slapped by his son in public, how could he hold back his face? When he came back to his senses, he wanted to get angry, but Ryuko Yang suddenly knelt down, making him dumbfounded. What was going on? His son was an earth role disciple, but he actually knelt down in front of this person. Misunderstanding? I don't think this is a misunderstanding. This old man of yours is more than a little arrogant. Not only has he been rude to me, but he even said that this day next year will be my death anniversary. Madman chuckled. What? He actually said such words. Ryuko Yang's eyes trembled as he looked at the village chief and shouted, quickly kneel down and kowtow to senior brother Madman and apologize. Kowtow and apologize. The village chief began to panic. He also slowly realized that the two young people in front of him weren't that simple. Hurry up. Ryuko Yang said angrily. The father of an earth role disciple kowtowing to me, I'm afraid I can't accept it. After all, an earth role disciple has status and place in our Nine-Heaven Palace. Madman said. No. My father only bragged because he didn't know. In front of you, senior brother, what am I? I'm not even a dog. Ryuko smiled flatteringly. Looking at the lowly Ryuko kneeling in front of the madman, the village chief panicked. If even an earth-ranking disciple was so terrified, one could imagine how high the position of this madman in Nine Heavens Palace was. It seemed that this time, he had really gotten himself into big trouble. Ryuko roared, kneel. Village chief trembled and immediately knelt down in front of Madman. His face was filled with fear as he thought to himself, "Son, where did this person come from? He is someone we can never afford to offend. There are over 10 million disciples in the Nine Heavens Palace, and he is the number one disciple. No one has ever dared to be arrogant in front of him. If he wants to kill us, even heavenly deities won't be able to stop him. Dad, you're in big trouble this time. How did you offend him? Can't you be more careful?" Ryuko was furious. When the village chief heard this, he immediately collapsed to the ground. Who would have thought that this seemingly unremarkable young man would be so terrifying? Not so arrogant anymore. Where's the arrogance from before? Madman said. I'm sorry, village chief's expression changed as he hurriedly kowtowed and apologized. Just a word of sorry and it's over. Then where will I put my face in the future? You're really tired of being arrogant in front of me. If you're not arrogant, then I'll be arrogant. Now, I'll let you see what true arrogance is. Madman kicked the village chief's face, causing his face to be mangled. He lay in the air and howled miserably. Following that, Madman slapped Ryuko's face again. Long Xiang's face was also lacerated, flesh and blood flying everywhere. Did you see that? Slapping an earth-ranking disciple in public, this is true arrogance. Who do you think you are? Madman laughed angrily. Senior brother, spare me, spare me. How could Ryuko care about the injuries on his face? He kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. As for the village chief, it was too late for regrets. How did he provoke such a terrifying fiend? Madman spat on the ground with a face full of disdain. He looked at Ryuko and said, Ryuko, I'll ask you one thing. Do you know what your father did in the village? Ryuko was slightly taken aback as he raised his head and looked at Madman in surprise. Answer me. Madman shouted. Ryuko trembled as he turned to look at the village chief. He shook his head and said, I don't know. You don't know? Then why are you hesitating? Jiang Haotian read his memories. I want to see if he's telling the truth. Madman said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. He formed a seal with both hands and a puppet imprint appeared. Madman said, if you dare to resist, I'll kill you now. Ryuko originally wanted to resist. Although he didn't know what the imprint was, from Madman's words, it wasn't hard to guess that it should be a secret technique that could read the memories of others. Reading his memories, how could he let that happen? However, when he heard Madman's warning, he didn't dare to resist. He lowered his head and said bitterly, there's no need to read my memories. I admit that I know everything. I knew you were lying. Since you knew, why didn't you stop it? Just because you're a small disciple of Nine Heaven Palace, you and your father can do whatever you want in the village. Madman roared. It's my fault, my fault. In the past, I tried to persuade him, but he didn't listen. What could I do? He's my father after all. Ryuko shouted. Persuaded? Why don't I believe you? Madman sneered and looked at Qin Feiyang, control him, I want to know the truth. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the imprint turned into a stream of light and entered Ryuko's head. After controlling Ryuko, he immediately read Ryuko's memories. Long Xiang immediately howled miserably. A moment later, Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He looked at Madman and said, Senior brother, you're really good at predicting things. When Ryuko heard this, he became nervous. What do you mean? Madman was suspicious. Not only did he not stop his father, but he also often bullied people in the village. There are more than a dozen girls in the village who were all harmed by him. And his methods of torturing others are better than his father. Qin Feiyang said. Ryuko was in despair. He could actually read his memories. What? There are more than a dozen girls who were all ruined by him. Madman was dumbfounded, unable to believe it to the extreme. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, and after he ruined them, they were all killed by him. Bastard! You are simply the scum of scum, and the shame of our 9 heavens palace. For a person like you, even if you were to be cut into pieces, it would not be enough to relieve the hatred in my heart. Madman flew into a rage and slammed his palm towards Long Xiang's head. Don't kill me, senior brother, I was wrong, I will definitely change in the future, Ryuko roared in horror. However, Madman turned a deaf ear and didn't show any mercy. He slapped the top of Long Xiang's head. Suddenly, a scream resounded through the sky. Along with the scream, Ryuko's head exploded on the spot like a watermelon, and blood dyed the surroundings red. Son, the village chief stared dumbfoundedly at the corpse that was slowly falling down, his entire body sinking into deep fear. Madman smiled in disdain, looked at the village chief, and said, "Didn't you always say that when you see your son, it will be the time of our death? What about now?" The village chief quivered and hurriedly begged, "Lord, please spare my life, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, I'm sorry, actually, I admire your courage, because you are the first person who dares to be arrogant in front of me. Unfortunately, you are also very stupid. Because of your stupidity, not only did you kill yourself, you also killed your son." Madman grabbed the village chief and flew towards a mountain not far away. Madman, what is he trying to do? It's definitely not a good thing. Ryuko Yang was indeed killed, how pitiful. Pitiful? Didn't you hear Jiang Haotian say before that this father and son pair bullied men and women in the village? There were more than 10 girls in the village who were all ruined by Ryuko Yang. This kind of scum deserves to die. I'm just curious, how did Madman and Jiang Haotian find out about this? I also know that Ryuko Yang, we even drank together a few times. His village is far from our 9 heaven palace, it seems that we have to open more than 10 altars to get there. Maybe someone snitched on him. It's also possible that they accidentally bumped into him. People discussed in low voices. Madman said. He grabbed the village chief and landed in the sky above the mountain range. Fierce beasts were everywhere in the mountain range. And each of them had terrifying strength, with the weakest being a monarch god. However, these fierce beasts would not harm the disciples of 9 heaven palace. Madman glanced at the mountain range, smiled coldly, and crippled the village chief's cultivation. Then, he let go of the village chief and the village chief fell down powerlessly. Madman shouted, "Tear him apart for me." Madman's words caused the originally docile fierce beasts to become ferocious. They bared their fangs and pounced at the village chief. Damn, he wants those fierce beasts to tear him apart bit by bit. Madman, this fellow is too cruel. Seeing this scene, the faces of all the disciples present turned pale. At the same time, hearing Madman's words, the village chief's body and mind trembled. "No, I beg you, let me go, who can be merciful and save me?" He struggled with all his might, shouting with all his might, but no one paid any attention to him. What a joke. This was someone that Madman wanted to kill, who would dare to save him? Without any suspense, the outcome was already decided. Those fierce beasts pounced forward as if they were fighting over a delicious cake. Miserable screams resounded through the sky. Qin Feiyan also looked at this scene indifferently, but suddenly, a childish voice sounded from the side, "Why is this happening?" Qin Feiyan was stunned and lowered his head to look at Long Tianyu. He saw Long Tianyu looking at the dismembered village chief, his small face couldn't help but turn pale. He also had a trace of puzzlement. Long Tianyu gathered his courage and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Big brother, Grandpa village chief is such a good person, why do you want to kill him? The human heart is sinister. Some people are not as simple as they seem. Even if I tell you now, you won't understand. When you grow up in the future, you will naturally understand. Qin Feiyang smiled. However, Long Qianyu's performance made him look at him in a different light. An ordinary 12 or 13-year-old youth would definitely be scared to tears when they saw such a bloody scene. Although Long Qianyu looked a little scared, at least he wasn't scared out of his wits. This meant that he had experienced a lot in the past and his temperament had been tempered, surpassing his peers. Chapter 21:14. The village chief and Ryuko had died one after another, and their fates were so miserable. But in the madman's heart, there was still resentment that he couldn't find a way to vent. Because when he thought of those girls who were humiliated by Ryuko and then killed by him, he couldn't calm down. What are you thinking about? Qin Feiyang pulled Long Qianyu forward and asked suspiciously. Why do you think there is such a scum in this world? It's not an exaggeration to say that he's worse than pigs and dogs. The madman said. This kind of thing is very common, it's just that you stay in Nine Heaven Palace all year round and don't know. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. It could be seen that the madman didn't know much about the cruelty of the outside world. But he was already used to it. Very common. The madman frowned. N. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. No. This resentment is stuck in my heart, if I don't vent it out, I will definitely go crazy. The madman shook his head and turned to fly towards the sky stairway. Where are you going? Qin Feiyang hurriedly asked. To get rid of evil for the people, punish evil and promote good. The madman said without turning his head. Eh. Qin Feiyang looked at the madman's back in shock. He didn't expect that this devil incarnate actually had a kind heart. Very soon. The madman disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He left just like that, what a willful fellow. Wait. Suddenly. Qin Feiyang seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly shouted and chased after him with Long Qianyu. What? The madman stopped in the air and waited for Qin Feiyang. When Qin Feiyang caught up, he asked suspiciously. Qin Feiyang looked at Long Qianyu and said, Bring this little fellow with you. Bring him? The madman's expression stiffened and then said, What kind of joke is this? I don't want to bring a burden. I'm not a burden. Long Qianyu looked at madman with dissatisfaction. With your little bit of cultivation, I can kill you with a single breath. Aren't you just a burden? Young man, can you have some self-awareness? Madman's face was full of disdain. Long Qianyu glared at the madman. His face was filled with displeasure, but he wasn't afraid at all. You still dare to glare at me? Madman raised his eyebrows. Humph. You are very strong now, but I will definitely surpass you in the future. Long Qianyu snorted coldly. Ouch! Madman exclaimed and then rubbed his chin. He sized up Long Qianyu and laughed, You have guts. Okay, since you said that, I will bring you along. A smile appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. He lowered his head and looked at Long Qianyu. Although he has a bad temper, he's really strong. If you learn from him, it will be of great help to your future growth. All right. Long Qianyu nodded and flew to Madman's side. Madman's face was cold. Kid, if you follow me, you have to listen to me no matter what. Do you understand? If it makes sense, I will listen. Long Qianyu said. Damn, you have a personality. Madman chuckled, grabbed Long Qianyu, and tore through the air without looking back. Qin Feiyang watched the two of them leave. Qin Feiyang, why did you let Qianyu follow him? With that guy's personality, he will teach Qianyu to be a little madman sooner or later. The voice of the artifact spirit suddenly rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang laughed inwardly. A big madman and a little madman. Not bad. I'm not joking. Qianyu is like my grandson in my eyes. I don't want him to be like that madman and be crazy all day long. The artifact spirit said. I'm not joking either. Don't look down on madman. Although he is a little abnormal, his heart is very meticulous. If madman is really going to punish evil and promote good, then Long Tianyu will be able to learn a lot by following him. For example, the ugliness of human nature, darkness, and scheming. The most important thing is that in the process of madman punishing evil and promoting good, he will be able to learn what is good and what is justice. This will be very helpful for his growth in the future. Qin Feiyang thought. So it's like that. The artifact spirit was enlightened and smiled happily. I didn't misjudge you. You are a talent and a good teacher. Teacher? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and shook his head. I didn't say that I will take Long Tianyu as my disciple. Moreover, in front of you, I don't have the qualifications. Although this exalted is stronger than you, in terms of teaching, I am truly ashamed of my inferiority. Why don't you spend some effort and help me teach him a lesson? The artifact spirit said with a pleading tone. Try your best. There is a good saying, the master can show you the way, but the cultivation depends on the person. What path to take in the end will depend on his own choice. Qin Feiyang said. That's true. The artifact spirit said, this ninth heaven palace is not a good place. Qin Feiyang was surprised and asked, what do you mean? I control the power of death, so I am very sensitive to evil things. The moment I entered the ninth heaven palace, I felt a terrifying evil aura in the deepest part of the ninth heaven palace. The artifact spirit said. Evil aura, the deepest part of the ninth heaven palace. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at the depths of the ninth heaven palace, his eyes flickering. What kind of evil thing could it be that even the Grey Castle was so concerned about it? Jiang Haotian. Suddenly, a hearty laughter rang out, interrupting Qin Feiyang's thoughts. Qin Feiyang looked over and saw a purple-clothed youth, stepping into the air step by step. It was Mu Tianyang. A smile also appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. Mu Tianyang said, let's go to the cave for a chat. Sure. Qin Feiyang nodded. The two of them walked together and entered the first sacred peak. Inside the first cave, the two sat opposite each other. Mu Tianyang asked, that village chief, is it the mission that Shangguan Fenglan gave you? You can say so. Qin Feiyang nodded. You're just fooling me. How could the dignified law enforcement hall master let you handle such a small matter? Mu Tianyang rolled his eyes. I really can't fool you. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Mu Tianyang's eyes revealed a trace of disdain, and said, is it related to that young man? N. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at the tightly closed stone door, and said, this matter is complicated, let's go to the Black Tortoise world and talk about it slowly. Mu Tianyang's eyes flashed. To be so cautious, it seemed that it was not a small matter. Black Tortoise world. Medicine field, courtyard. Qin Feiyang did not hide anything from Mu Tianyang about what he had experienced in the past 2 days. What? He actually obtained another heaven-defying divine artifact. Mu Tianyang was dumbstruck when he heard this. The Grey Castle appeared and said unhappily, I didn't get it, I was just temporarily helping him. Mu Tianyang looked at the Grey Castle with a trace of doubt in his eyes. What? The artifact spirit was suspicious. I'm a little puzzled, you are a demonic creature, why are you so good to a human child? Don't blame me for being suspicious. You followed Qin Feiyang, are you up to something? Mu Tianyang said. Up to something. Qin Feiyang also looked at the Grey Castle without batting an eyelid. In fact, he also thought so. But there was no evidence, and he couldn't make an assertion. Up to something. With my strength, if I really have some up to something, do I need to hide like this? The artifact spirit was disdainful. That's not necessarily true. After all, it's not the first time I've come into contact with a heaven-defying divine artifact like you. Existences like you, without a purpose, how can you help us humans? Mu Tianyang said. The artifact spirit sneered, don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Good, good, good. I'm a villain. Let's not talk about this for the time being. What I want to know the most is, are Qin Batian and Lu Xingyang really in the Sky Dragon Sea? Mu Tianyang said. If they were really there before, I can swear, but now it's hard to say, I have to go and find them to know. The artifact spirit said. Sky Dragon Sea, Mu Tianyang pondered for a while, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, since we have a clue now, we should go to the Sky Dragon Sea as soon as possible. I think so too. But now, we are working in the resource hall. Without a suitable excuse, we can't leave. Qin Feiyang frowned. This is a small matter. I'll solve it. And, I have a good news here. Mu Tianyang smiled. What good news? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked. Mu Tianyang smiled, took out the image crystal, and with a wave of his hand, a picture slowly unfolded in the void above. Qin Feiyang looked up curiously, and a flash of light flashed in his eyes. It was actually an image. In the video, Feng Yuan sat in the lounge on the second floor of the resource hall, and his face was extremely gloomy. Opposite, Mu Tianyang stood respectfully with his head lowered, and there was a trace of nervousness on his face. Didn't I ask you to cooperate with them to kill Jiang Haotian and Hui? Now tell me, what did you do at that time? Feng Yuan said angrily. Mu Tianyang's face changed, and he hurriedly said, Hall Master, you can't blame me for this. If I don't blame you, then blame me. In that situation, as long as you took action, Jiang Haotian and Hui would definitely die. Feng Yuan shouted. Hall Master. Although Jiang Haotian and Hui would definitely die if I took action, wouldn't I become an accomplice? If there was no one at that time, it would be different. But at that time, there were thousands of people outside the North City Gate, and they were all watching. And Madman just happened to rush over. You know Madman's character. If he saw me helping those assassins to kill Jiang Haotian and Hui, then my little life would definitely be gone. Mu Tianyang's face was full of grievances. Bastard! Compared to Jiang Haotian and Hui's lives, what is your life? Feng Yuan was furious. Mu Tianyang's face suddenly sank, and he said, Hall Master, what do you mean by this? In your eyes, I'm just a chess piece. Then what do you think you are? A cooperative relationship? You think you're worthy? You should know that right now, your little life is already in my hands. If I want to kill you, it's as simple as stepping on an ant. Feng Yuan sneered. Mu Tianyang said angrily, when I followed you, you didn't say that. Yes. At that time, this old man was very polite to you, but that was only at that time. And now, do you have the qualifications to negotiate with this old man? Feng Yuan sneered. Chapter 21:15. Mu Tianyang was furious. You're burning the bridge after crossing the river. I really regret letting you control me back then. No wonder Guillaume betrayed you. A sinister villain like you is not worthy of our service. Slap. After Mu Tianyang finished speaking, Feng Yuan stood up angrily and slapped Mu Tianyang's face. A blood-red palm print appeared. The corner of Mu Tianyang's mouth also flowed with blood. Feng Yuan laughed. Do you believe that this old man will kill you right now? Of course. But if you kill me, you'll never get rid of Jiang Haotian. It's not that I'm looking down on you, but you don't have the ability. Mu Tianyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and sneered. Feng Yuan flew into a rage out of humiliation and raised his arm again, but it stopped in the air and did not slap down. Mu Tianyang did not show the slightest fear and even looked at him provocatively. Huh, Feng Yuan suddenly laughed and lowered his arm. He returned to his seat and said, "You do have some value. It's a pity to kill you. It's good that you know." Mu Tianyang said. Feng Yuan said, "Then tell me, how can we get rid of Jiang Haotian? I've already said that this matter can't be rushed. To deal with Jiang Haotian, we have to do it step by step." Mu Tianyang said. "All right. This old man won't make a move for now. Find an opportunity. This old man still has things to do. You can leave now." Feng Yuan waved his hand. Mu Tianyang's eyes flashed. "I have another question." "What question?" Feng Yuan looked at him in confusion. Mu Tianyang said, "Who assassinated Ma Guang and those assassins? Does this have anything to do with you?" Feng Yuan frowned. "Of course it does. This person can kill Ma Guang and the others under the eyes of lunatic without anyone noticing. One can imagine that he must be very strong. If I can get him to help me, it will definitely be twice the result with half the effort." Mu Tianyang said confidently. Feng Yuan was stunned and asked, "You mean you want him to follow you? Listen to your orders?" "Yes." Mu Tianyang nodded. "Haha, you're getting more and more arrogant. You actually want to order this old man around?" Feng Yuan was rocking back and forth with laughter. He looked at Mu Tianyang as if he was looking at a clown. "What? Are you the one who killed Ma Guang and the others?" Mu Tianyang was bewildered. "That's right. It's me. Who asked Ma Guang to be so talkative? Aren't you courting death?" Feng Yuan sneered. "You actually took action personally?" Mu Tianyang was shocked. "You may leave. If you want this old man to continue nurturing you, then show me your true strength and methods." Feng Yuan said coldly. Mu Tianyang took a deep look at Feng Yuan, then turned and left the lounge. The video ended there. "You actually got something out of him. Impressive." Qin Feiyang gave Mu Tianyang a thumbs up. "It's nothing. But that slap really hurt." Mu Tianyang touched his face, a trace of murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Qin Feiyang said, "Sooner or later, I'll make him pay for it. And it will be 100 times more." Mu Tianyang smiled coldly, put away the video crystal, and said, "As Lunatic said, this evidence is not enough. I know. There's no hurry. Take your time." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Mu Tianyang nodded and took out another interspatial ring. "What is it?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Mu Tianyang said, "Soul stones." Hearing this, Qin Feiyang quickly grabbed the interspatial ring and checked it. Sure enough, it was full of soul stones. Mu Tianyang said, "A total of 350 million. 350 million. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Although the first 4 symbols infinite divine pill was sold for a sky-high price of 1 billion, that was because Lunatic and Feng Zihan were fighting. When the second pill was auctioned, Huai and I also played with Yuzijie. But Yuzijie seemed to have received news that we were bidding on behalf of Feng Yuan, so he tactfully withdrew. The second pill was only sold for 400 million. As for the third pill, Huai and I didn't bid. Feng Zihan also didn't bid. Only Yuzijie competed with others. In the end, Yuzijie got it for 200 million. Mu Tianyang said. Only 200 million. Qin Feiyang frowned. 200 million is already a lot, okay? After all, it only takes 100 million soul stones to cultivate from a perfect war god to a half-step monarch god. In other words, the price of the 4 symbols infinite divine pill has doubled. Besides, in the northern region, how many people have the ability to take out hundreds of millions of soul stones at once? Mu Tianyang said. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. 1,400,000,000, 200 million. In total, the 3-4 symbols infinite divine pills that were auctioned yesterday were worth a total of 1.6 billion soul stones. We'll get 800 million. Then, after deducting Huiyi's hush money, we only have 700 million left. So, the two of us can only get 350 million each. Mu Tianyang said. You really gave him hush money? Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel his heart ache. Huiyi's hush money was 50 million per person. In other words, Huiyi didn't do anything and took away 100 million soul stones from him and Mu Tianyang. What if he doesn't give it to us? If it really leaks out that the 4 symbols infinite divine pill was refined by us, then there will be a lot of trouble. It's better to spend some money to shut his mouth. Mu Tianyang was helpless. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. Mu Tianyang continued, but this person is also tactful. I guarantee that in the future, he won't come and extort us again. If a person is not satisfied, then it will bring about a fatal disaster. He is a smart person, so he will definitely think of this. Qin Feiyang said. Mu Tianyang asked, then I'll go and plan, and then set off for the Sky Dragon Sea. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded, and then brought Mu Tianyang and the Grey Castle out of the Black Tortoise realm, appearing in the cave. Mu Tianyang did not delay and immediately turned to leave. The artifact spirit looked at Mu Tianyang's back and transmitted, this person is not simple. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and asked curiously, what do you mean? The artifact spirit said, I can sense a dangerous aura on him. You're quite observant. This person is indeed not simple, because he also has a heaven-defying divine artifact. Qin Feiyang said. What? The artifact spirit was shocked. When did heaven-defying divine artifacts become so worthless? Qin Feiyang suddenly thought of something and asked, by the way, I have something to ask you. Is Frenzy's spatial divine artifact also a heaven-defying divine artifact? Yes. The artifact spirit replied. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was just guessing, but he didn't expect it to be true. And according to my guess, that spatial divine artifact should also have a time array. And it's not a low-level time array. The artifact spirit said. No wonder he wanted to hide it from me, afraid that I would go in. It turns out that there is a time array. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. Wait. Low-level? There is a difference between low-level and high-level time arrays. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course there is. The artifact spirit said. How? Qin Feiyang was immediately interested. High-level, low-level. Low-level time arrays can change the rules of time, at most 10 years. 10 to 1,000 years belongs to the mid-level time array. And more than 1,000 years belongs to the high-level time array. The artifact spirit explained. What? 1 day is equal to 1,000 years. Qin Feiyang was shocked. You can never imagine the things in this world. 1,000 years is nothing. It is said that some time arrays can change the rules of time, up to 10,000 years. The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. 1 day is equal to 10,000 years, this is too terrifying. He didn't even dare to think about it. Qin Feiyang asked, then how can one set up a time array? The artifact spirit said, an existence that has mastered the law of time can set up a time array. Master the law of time? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Suddenly, he thought of Mu Tianyang's blood blade and asked, that time reversal, is it considered the law of time? Of course. The artifact spirit replied. In that case, can't the blood blade also set up a time array? In that case, why did Mu Tianyang go to the Crimson Gold Divine Tower? Qin Feiyang frowned. Of course, things like divine artifacts can't set up a time array. For example, this lord doesn't have this ability. The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, why? Because the power of law contained in divine artifacts is bestowed by the person who forged them. In other words, artifact spirits like us don't fully comprehend the power of law. Without fully comprehending the power of law, naturally, we can't set up a time array. The artifact spirit explained patiently. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. Then this could be explained. Although the blood blade could use the law of time, it hadn't fully comprehended it, so it couldn't set up a time array. In that case, Mu Tianyang could only think of another way. Previously, he thought that Mu Tianyang might be up to something again, but in the end, it was just him being paranoid. Being too paranoid was not a good thing. Suddenly, the artifact spirit was surprised and sent a sound transmission. Someone is coming, this lord will avoid it first. With that, the grey castle rushed into Qin Feiyang's Qi like lightning. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at the stone door. Sure enough. In less than 3 breaths, the stone door was pushed open, and a woman in light purple slowly walked into the cave. Qin Feiyang hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Disciple Jiang Haotian greets Lord Palace Master. That's right. The person who came was Shangguan Fenglan. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Qin Feiyang and said angrily, this lunatic is really too reckless, he actually brought you to the far west. Fortunately, it's not a big deal. Qin Feiyang laughed, senior brother lunatic also wanted to bring me to see the world. Then did you see anything? Shangguan Fenglan asked. Qin Feiyang said, we have investigated the cause of death of those law enforcers, they died at the hands of the frost apes in the far west. Shangguan Fenglan said, you should know that this lord is not asking about this. Then what is it? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Long Tianyu has already been brought to the 9 Heavens Palace by you, don't you know? Don't play dumb in front of this lord. This lord wants to know the reason for Long Tianyu's talent transformation. Shangguan Fenglan said. Lord is asking about this. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood, then lowered his head and said, to be honest, Lord, we have not investigated this matter clearly. Chapter 21:16. I didn't find out, Shangguan Fenglan murmured. She slowly walked into the living room and sat on a chair. She looked up at Qin Feiyang with an extremely unfriendly expression and said, do you take me for a fool? I wouldn't dare. Qin Feiyang hurriedly bowed. I think you don't take me seriously. Shangguan Fenglan slammed her palm on the armrest of the chair. Her face was full of anger as she shouted, you can even read Ryuko Yang's memories. I don't believe that you can't read Long Tianyu's memories. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect that Ryuko Yang's matter would spread to Shangguan Fenglan's ears so quickly. Although at that time, when he controlled Ryuko Yang, he didn't mention the name of the puppet technique, everyone was not stupid. They would definitely think that it was a kind of secret technique. Shangguan Fenglan smiled coldly and said meaningfully, I also didn't expect that you actually have such a secret technique. Qin Feiyang was a little flustered. Shangguan Fenglan shouted, I want to hear the truth. This, Qin Feiyang hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth and said, okay, I'll tell you. I did read Long Tianyu's memories and also know that the reason for his talent transformation is because of a divine artifact. Divine artifact? Shangguan Fenglan was surprised. This answer was a little unexpected. Yes. In the deepest part of the land of the far west, there is a divine artifact. When Frenzy and I rushed there, we also saw that divine artifact. But that divine artifact was too terrifying. We were no match for it at all and could only flee in panic. Qin Feiyang said. What kind of divine artifact? Shangguan Fenglan asked curiously. It's a gray ancient castle. It controls the power of death and can seize vitality and erode the divine soul. Qin Feiyang said. Seize vitality, erode the divine soul, Shangguan Fenglan murmured. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, her body trembled slightly and she asked, "Are you sure it's the power of death?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "How could it be?" Shangguan Fenglan suddenly stood up, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said in a deep voice, "This matter, only you and Frenzy know. Don't tell anyone else, understand?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang replied. However, he was a little puzzled. Did Shangguan Fenglan know the origin of Grey Castle? Shangguan Fenglan originally wanted to leave, but she suddenly stopped. She turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, "When Madman returns, have him bring Long Tianyu to see me, forget it. I'll personally send a message, SSS without 8TT, what?" Qin Feiyang frowned. S funds. A blurry grey figure appeared. It was the spirit of the Grey Castle. The spirit looked at Qin Feiyang and said anxiously, "Qin Feiyang, don't let her see Tianyu." "Why? You really know her?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "I do know her. And we have a grudge. If Tianyu falls into her hands, he won't have a good time." The spirit said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Then why didn't you tell me just now?" If the spirit had told him earlier that he had a grudge with Shangguan Fenglan, he wouldn't have told the truth. For example, he could have fabricated a divine weapon and then told Frenzy, and Shangguan Fenglan wouldn't be able to find out. "It's been too long. I didn't think of it just now. When I heard her last words, I realized something was wrong, so I thought about it carefully and remembered the grudge with her." The spirit sighed. Qin Feiyang said suspiciously, "Then what's the grudge between you two? Why are you so flustered? This grudge isn't ordinary. Let's put it this way, you two can be considered life and death enemies." The spirit said. "Life and death enemies? How could you forget such a serious matter? I really admire you." Qin Feiyang was speechless to the extreme. "We'll talk about this later. Quickly think of a way to inform Frenzy to hide Tianyu," the spirit urged. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "I didn't establish a contract with Frenzy." "Then what should we do?" "Tianyu can't enter Ninth Heaven Palace again," the spirit said. "Don't worry. This matter hasn't reached the point where it can't be resolved." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. Although the spirit was anxious, it didn't disturb Qin Feiyang. A moment later, Qin Feiyang finally raised his head and looked at the spirit with a smile, "Let Long Tianyu come back." "Are you kidding me?" the spirit said angrily. "Don't be anxious. Let me finish. Although your relationship with Long Tianyu isn't shallow, only Frenzy and I know about this matter. Shangguan Fenglan doesn't know anything. The people in the village also don't know anything. So, as long as Frenzy and I don't say anything, no matter how Shangguan Fenglan investigates, she won't know the true relationship between you and Long Tianyu." Qin Feiyang smiled. The spirit pondered for a moment and asked, "And then?" "When Long Tianyu comes back, Shangguan Fenglan will interrogate him. At that time, we'll secretly tell Long Tianyu that you've only met him once and don't know why you're helping him. He's still a child. Shangguan Fenglan won't think that he would lie. This way, Shangguan Fenglan won't be able to do anything to him. At most, she'll send someone to secretly monitor him. And as I expected, Shangguan Fenglan will definitely make an exception and let Long Tianyu stay in Ninth Heaven Palace. Because it's easier to monitor him in Ninth Heaven Palace." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Not only can we resolve the crisis, but we can also stay in Ninth Heaven Palace. Hearing you say that, it's not a bad idea." "Okay, I'll listen to you." The spirit pondered for a moment and nodded. "Thank you for your trust in me. You go and recuperate first. I'll go to the stairway to heaven now and wait for Frenzy and Long Tianyu. Qin Feiyang said. The spirit disappeared in an instant. Qin Feiyang also turned and flew out of the cave, heading towards the stairway to heaven. It was evening when they came out of the far west land. Qin Feiyang and Frenzy stayed in the village for a while before returning to Ninth Heaven Palace. In other words, it was still night time. The sky of Ninth Heaven Palace was different from the far west land. The full moon was in the sky and the stars were shining brightly. Just as Qin Feiyang left the cave, another figure flew out from cave number 4. It was Hui Yi. Why are you still running out in the middle of the night? It shouldn't be anything good. Let's follow and see. Hui Yi looked at Qin Feiyang's back suspiciously. He muttered a few words and silently entered the mountains below, following behind Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang, someone is following you. In the sky. Qin Feiyang didn't notice Hui Yi following him. However, the tool spirit immediately discovered it and secretly informed Qin Feiyang. What? Someone is following me? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Don't look back. He's hiding in the mountains below. But this person's cultivation seems a bit weak. He's a perfect war god. The spirit said. Perfect war god? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Sneaky, and he's a perfect war god? A figure immediately appeared in Qin Feiyang's mind. He thought, where did he come from? The artifact spirit said, it's the 4th abode next to yours. It's really him. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but have a headache. You know him? The spirit asked. N. His name is Hui Yi. We entered Empyrean Palace together. Our relationship, it's okay. Qin Feiyang thought. But you still have to be careful. Although this person's cultivation is weak, he gives me a great sense of crisis. This sense of crisis is not inferior to Mu Tianyang's heaven-defying divine artifact. The spirit said solemnly. What? Qin Feiyang was secretly shocked. He knew that Hui Yi wasn't simple, but he didn't expect him to hide so deeply. The spirit said, I'm a bit puzzled now. Puzzled about what? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. I'm puzzled. Why is it that the people you know are all mysterious and unfathomable? The spirit was confused. Frenzy, Mu Tianyang, Hui Yi, each one was more mysterious than the other. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly when he heard this. Actually, I'm also quite puzzled. By the way, do you have a grudge with Shangguan Fenglan? A mere Shangguan Fenglan is nothing. The spirit immediately smiled disdainfully. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was curious. It's a secret for the time being. The spirit said. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Wasn't this deliberately whetting his appetite? But since the spirit didn't want to say, he couldn't force it. After all, it was a heaven-defying demonic being and had a temper. Angering such an existence wouldn't do him any good. Not long after, Qin Feiyang rushed to the top of the sky stairway and looked down. He didn't go down and just waited at the top. Time passed quietly. Junior brother Jiang, why are you standing here? During this period, many disciples came back from the outside and saw Qin Feiyang standing here alone. They couldn't help but ask. Looking at the scenery. This was Qin Feiyang's answer. No matter who asked, this was the answer. Those disciples were a little speechless. What scenery was there to look at? But now, Qin Feiyang was also a famous figure in Empyrean Palace, and he even had Madman's protection, so no one dared to ask more. They greeted him, showed a little friendliness, and then left. Unknowingly, it was midnight. What's going on? It's been so long, why hasn't he come back? Qin Feiyang gradually furrowed his brows. The spirit said worriedly, could he have encountered some danger? It's not dangerous. After all, this is Empyrean Palace, who doesn't know the name of madman? Touching him is tantamount to courting death. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Suddenly, he patted his head and smiled bitterly. I should have thought of it. Thought of what? The spirit said. With madman's character, how could he come back just because we asked him to? He's not such an obedient person. And he's not stupid. Shangguan Fenglan is in such a hurry to find him, she will definitely be suspicious. Don't worry about it for now, go back and cultivate. Qin Feiyang shook his head, turned around, and flew away. After returning to his cave residence, he directly entered the ancient castle to cultivate in seclusion. What's going on? Hua Yi, who followed all the way, stood at the entrance of Qin Feiyang's cave residence with a dumbfounded face. He ran to the sky stairway, did nothing, and ran back. Was he bored? Chapter 21:17. The next day. Early morning. As usual, Qin Feiyang entered the resource hall early in the morning to work. Junior brother Jiang, what have you been doing these 2 days? Did you ask for leave from the hall master? The one who spoke was a woman in white, called Wang Yun. She was about 1.8 meters tall, had a tall figure, and looked pretty good. When Qin Feiyang and the other two first entered the resource hall, it was this woman who was responsible for leading them. And she was the only woman in the resource hall. Moreover, Wang Yun's usual attitude towards people was also very good, so she was very popular with everyone. Leave. Qin Feiyang was organizing the accounts. Hearing Wang Yun's words, he couldn't help but raise his head and look at Wang Yun suspiciously. Don't you know? No matter where we go, the people of the resource hall have to ask for leave from the hall master in advance. Wang Yun said. This, Qin Feiyang was startled, and shook his head, I really don't know. Wang Yun was startled, and sighed, it's my fault, I didn't tell you in advance. Qin Feiyang frowned, this shouldn't be a big deal, right? This matter can be said to be small, but it can also be said to be big. It depends on whether the hall master will pursue this matter or not. I was also wondering why the hall master's expression was so ugly these 2 days. Now I finally understand. It's because you ran out with madman without saying a word. Wang Yun shook her head and laughed. I'll pay attention next time. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. Yes. Wang Yun nodded. At this moment, 4 inner court disciples walked in together. One of them took out a medicinal herb and handed it to Wang Yun with both hands. He asked with anticipation, look at this medicinal herb, how many soul stones can it be exchanged for? Wang Yun took the medicinal herb and looked at it carefully. This golden flower was the size of a palm. Every petal looked as if it was cast in gold, dazzling and dazzling. What was even more strange was that the stamen in the middle of the petals was arranged in a pattern that looked like a divine dragon. Qin Feiyang unintentionally glanced at the golden flower, but with just a glance, he was unable to shift his gaze away. It was actually the flower of the dragon god. One of the ingredients to refine the dragon soul primordial spirit pill. Wang Yun observed for a while and also recognized that it was the dragon god's flower. A trace of surprise crept into her bright eyes. She looked at the 4 disciples and smiled. Dragon God's flower, 100,000 soul stones. There are actually 100,000 of them. The 4 of them were wild with joy. Qin Feiyang put down the account book in his hand and walked to Wang Yun's side. Without batting an eyelid, he smiled and said, Senior sister Wang Yun, can you let me take a look? Wang Yun handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed it and looked at it curiously. After repeated confirmation, he confirmed that this was indeed the dragon god's flower. Immediately, his heart began to burn. This dragon god's flower could not enter the resource hall. This was because once they entered the resource hall, they would be kept in the resource hall's treasury. At that time, it would be very difficult to take it out. The four of you, I offer 400,000 soul stones for this dragon god's flower. If you are willing to sell it to me, then come find me at the cave tonight. Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission. The four of them were happy. Suddenly, they heard Qin Feiyang's voice in their minds, and their expressions couldn't help but be stunned. Qin Feiyang thought to himself, 400,000 soul stones and 100,000 soul stones, which one is more worth it? I don't need to say it, you all should know. Clear, clear. Since senior brother Jiang wants it, then we will naturally sell it to senior brother Jiang. The man in the lead thought. Qin Feiyang secretly laughed and said, all right, come find me at the cave tonight. All right. The man replied, then coughed dryly and extended his hand, I suddenly don't want to sell it, please return the dragon god's flower to me. Wang Yun was startled, and asked in confusion, why don't you want to sell it? The man said, if you don't want to sell it, then you don't want to sell it, why do you have so many reasons? All right. Wang Yun sighed helplessly, reluctantly looked at the dragon god's flower, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, junior brother Jiang, return it to them. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded and handed the dragon god's flower to the man. After the man put away the dragon god's flower, he secretly said, senior brother Jiang, this matter is settled, we will look for you tonight. Qin Feiyang secretly replied. The four of them looked at each other, then turned around and left quickly. What a pity. Wang Yun's face was filled with regret. It's indeed a pity, but there's nothing we can do about it. After all, our resource hall doesn't force people to buy or sell. Qin Feiyang laughed. Wang Yun nodded. You guys came really early. At this time, Mu Tianyang and Huai walked side by side into the resource hall with smiles on their faces. It's not that we came early, it's that you guys came too late. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and said indifferently. Mu Tianyang said, there's a reason why we came late. Yes. Huai nodded. What's the reason? Qin Feiyang and Wang Yun looked at the two of them suspiciously. The other staff members who were busy also came over curiously. Mu Tianyang laughed, early in the morning, we received news that the Sky Dragon City is in chaos. Sky Dragon City is in chaos. Qin Feiyang and the others were surprised. Huai smiled mysteriously, you guys will never guess why the Sky Dragon City is in chaos. Don't keep us in suspense, hurry up and say it. Wang Yun said angrily. Huai chuckled, and said, madman. Madman? Everyone was stunned. Yes. I heard that he killed hundreds of people in one night. Huai said. What? Kill so many people? What is he going to do? Everyone looked at each other. Mu Tianyang and I went to investigate. The people he killed were basically rotten people who liked to be arrogant, despotic, and bully others. Mu Tianyang said. He really went to punish evil and promote good? Everyone was stunned. The news of Madman saying that he would eliminate evil for the people had already spread in the Nine Heaven Palace. But everyone thought that he was just joking. But they did not expect that he would really do it. Let me tell you guys, the people in Sky Dragon City are in a panic. Those arrogant people in the past, especially those playboys, are like mice, obediently hiding in their homes, not daring to go out, afraid that they would bump into Madman. Huai laughed. Actually, this is good. I understand those playboys in Sky Dragon City too well, each of them is more arrogant than anyone else, they should have been extinguished long ago. Wang Yun snorted coldly. Mu Tianyang said suspiciously, Senior Sister Wang Yun, listening to your words, could it be that you are also from a family in Sky Dragon City? No, no, no. Wang Yun immediately waved her hand and laughed, how could I have such a family background? It's just that before I entered the Nine Heaven Palace, I worked in some restaurants in Sky Dragon City and saw many playboys. So that's how it is. Mu Tianyang suddenly understood. The places that playboys frequented were undoubtedly the big restaurants, so it was normal for Wang Yun, who had worked in a restaurant before, to understand. What are you all doing? Do you all have nothing to do? Suddenly, a stern voice sounded. Everyone's face changed as they hurriedly returned to their posts. Because the owner of the voice was Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan walked into the resource palace in large strides, and looked at everyone gloomily. Everyone lowered their heads, busy with the things in their hands, not daring to look at Feng Yuan. Jiang Haotian. Suddenly, Feng Yuan looked at Qin Feiyang. Palace Master. Qin Feiyang immediately stood up and looked at Feng Yuan. Not bad, how many days have you been in the resource palace? You actually dare to ignore my existence. Feng Yuan said angrily. Disciple doesn't dare. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and said. It seemed that this old thing was going to use this as a pretext to make a fuss. You call this not daring? I asked you to go to the treasure pavilion to bid for the 4 symbols infinite divine pill, but what about you? You actually left your post and fooled around with madman. What do you think my resource palace is? You come and go as you please. Feng Yuan shouted. Palace Master, this matter is due to Disciple's lack of consideration, but Disciple had no choice. It was madman who insisted on dragging Disciple there. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. He told you to go, so you went. Are you a dog by his side? So obedient. Feng Yuan said. Qin Feiyang's face turned cold, and said, Palace Master, this matter is indeed Disciple's fault, but please don't hurt others. What a joke. As the Palace Master of the Resource Palace, don't tell me I don't have the right to teach you a lesson. Feng Yuan laughed angrily. Of course Palace Master has the right. But what am I going to do with madman? I believe Palace Master also knows in his heart. Even if you don't know, you must be clear that this matter is related to Shengguan Fenglan. Qin Feiyang said. Presumptuous. Who do you think you are? How dare you use Shengguan Fenglan to suppress this old man? Feng Yuan was furious. Disciple didn't mean that. What I said was just the truth. If Palace Master insists on pursuing the matter, you can go to Shengguan Fenglan or the Great Elder. Because this is also the Great Elder's order. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Hearing this, Feng Yuan's old eyes suddenly had a trace of surprise. It was actually related to the Great Elder. Seeing Feng Yuan's reaction, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly. It seemed that Feng Yuan didn't know about the matter between Long Tianyu and the Grey Castle. Wang Yun. Suddenly, Feng Yuan shouted. Lord Palace Master. Wang Yun's delicate body trembled, and she quickly ran to Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan immediately slapped Wang Yun's face fiercely. Qin Feiyang stared at Feng Yuan. Why did he hit Wang Yun? Wang Yun covered her burning cheeks with a puzzled look on her face. Mu Tianyang and the others were also suspicious. Feng Yuan looked at Wang Yun and said, when Jiang Haotian entered the resource palace, you were in charge of leading him, right? Wang Yun nodded. Slap. Feng Yuan slapped Wang Yun's face again, and said, then did you tell him that before leaving the resource palace, he had to ask for leave from me first? Wang Yun shook her head. Slap. Feng Yuan slapped her again, and said, then tell me, do you deserve to be punished? Yes. Wang Yun nodded, not daring to resist at all. She didn't even dare to show the slightest dissatisfaction. Seeing Wang Yun being beaten, Qin Feiyang's face became more and more gloomy. Feng Yuan was obviously venting his personal anger. With Shengguan Fenglan and the Great Elder, these two mountains, Feng Yuan didn't dare to do anything to him. But if he gave up like this, then he, as the palace master of the resource palace, would lose face, so he went to find Wang Yun. In other words, Wang Yun became his punching bag. Chapter 21:18. And Wang Yun was not Qin Feiyang. Facing the powerful Feng Yuan, she did not have the slightest courage to resist. She could only let Feng Yuan slap her face one after another. After more than a dozen slaps, Wang Yun's cheeks were already bleeding. The anger in Qin Feiyang's heart became more and more intense. Qin Feiyang, don't be impulsive. Be careful or he will reward you with a slap. With his current state, he will definitely not be merciful. At that time, you will definitely bleed. Mu Tianyang saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly transmitted his voice. So what if I bleed? Do you want me to watch a woman get beaten for me? Then am I still a man? Qin Feiyang secretly snorted and rushed forward like lightning, grabbing Feng Yuan's wrist. Jiang Haotian. Everyone's expression changed. Especially Wang Yun, who looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. She never thought that this man would stand up for her and offend Feng Yuan. Looking at Feng Yuan, she also had a look of disbelief. How dare he be presumptuous in front of him? The dignified resource hall master, with a high position and power, actually made things difficult for a disciple. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Qin Feiyang sneered. A strand of dense flames of rage instantly appeared in Feng Yuan's eyes. This was clearly provoking him. Jiang Haotian, don't be rude. This is my fault to begin with. It is only right that I be punished. Leave now. Wang Yun's expression suddenly changed and she hurriedly shouted. Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear and looked at Feng Yuan. If there's anything, come at me. Don't make things difficult for unrelated people. Good. Very good. Very good. Feng Yuan laughed out of extreme anger and said, just based on your actions of offending your superior, it's sufficient for you to die a graveless death. Offend? I just said a few words of justice and it's called offending. Can't I speak the truth in Ninth Heaven Palace? Qin Feiyang said. What a sharp tongue. However, no matter how eloquent you are, you won't be able to escape punishment today. Now, I will punish you according to the law. Feng Yuan's eyes surged with killing intent. This is bad. Mu Tianyang felt a chill in his heart. Feng Yuan already had a murderous intent, and no one could persuade him otherwise. This guy was really stupid. Knowing that Feng Yuan had been looking for an opportunity to get rid of him, he still took the initiative to bump into him. According to law. But at this moment, a cold voice sounded. Then, a woman in a light purple dress slowly walked into the resource hall. It was Shengguan Fenglan. Greetings, Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall. Everyone immediately bowed. Qin Feiyang also quickly released Feng Yuan's wrist and turned to salute Shengguan Fenglan. Feng Yuan raised his eyebrows. Why was it this woman again? Every time he wanted to attack Qin Feiyang, this woman would always jump out and interfere. Hall Master Feng Yuan, law enforcement is the power of our law enforcement hall. It doesn't seem to have much to do with your resource hall, right? Shengguan Fenglan glanced at Qin Feiyang and smiled at Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan said, don't I have the right to punish the people of my resource hall who made a mistake? It depends on how you look at it. Privately, they are your subordinates. You do have the right to punish them. But publicly, as long as the disciples of Jiutian Palace, no matter where they are, no matter what mistakes they have made, they should be handed over to my law enforcement hall. Shengguan Fenglan said. Feng Yuan said angrily, are you deliberately going against me? I wouldn't dare. I just have something to ask Jiang Haotian, but I didn't expect to see this scene. Speaking of which, what exactly made Hall Master Feng Yuan so angry? Shengguan Fenglan looked curious. Feng Yuan's face was gloomy. Qin Feiyang said, Hall Master, this matter was caused by me. It has nothing to do with senior sister Wang Yun. Jiang Haotian, shut up. If you say it, it will definitely make Hall Master Feng Yuan angrier. Wang Yun hurriedly transmitted her voice. Don't be afraid. We are disciples of Jiutian Palace, not his slaves. Why should we be bullied by him? Qin Feiyang snorted coldly, looked at Shengguan Fenglan, and said respectfully, Hall Master, this is what happened. The day before yesterday, I went out with senior brother Feng Zi and didn't ask Hall Master Feng Yuan in advance, so he was very dissatisfied. But before that, I had taken the initiative to admit my mistake, but Hall Master Feng Yuan just didn't let it go. He even threatened to kill me. Qin Feiyang's face was full of grievance. So it's because of this. Shengguan Fenglan suddenly understood, turned to look at Feng Yuan, and said, this is my idea. Feng Yuan looked at Qin Feiyang coldly, then looked at Shengguan Fenglan and said, Jiang Haotian is a member of my resource hall after all. You let him go out to do things, out of courtesy and respect, shouldn't you tell me in advance? This is indeed my lack of consideration. But I can't help it. It was the great elder who urged me. I didn't think so much. I also thought that this was just a small matter, but I didn't expect Hall Master Feng Yuan to care so much. Shengguan Fenglan said. The meaning was obvious. If you are unhappy, go find the great elder. Don't use this as a pretext to make a fuss. And he even mocked Feng Yuan. It was such a small matter, yet he was still fussing over it. He was too narrow-minded. Good, good, good. Since it's the great elder's order, then I won't say anything more. But Wang Yun, she didn't fulfill her duty to teach the newcomers well, so she can no longer stay in the resource hall. Wang Yun, from now on, you are no longer a member of the resource hall. After handing over the work in your hands, you can leave on your own. After Feng Yuan finished speaking, he turned and walked to the second floor. Wang Yun's face was pale. She never thought that because of such a small mistake, she would be kicked out of the resource hall. Qin Feiyang just blamed himself. Although it was frenzy who forced him to go to the far west, in the end, Wang Yun lost her job because of him. What a pitiful person. How about this, I happen to be short of people in the law enforcement department. After the handover, you can report to the law enforcement hall. But just when Qin Feiyang was thinking about how to make it up to Wang Yun, Shengguan Fenglan's voice suddenly sounded. What? Feng Yuan's body stiffened and turned his head to stare at Shengguan Fenglan angrily. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also raised his head and looked at Shengguan Fenglan in surprise. Wang Yun herself had a look of disbelief. Go to the law enforcement hall. One must know that entering the law enforcement hall was more difficult than entering the resource hall. As long as one was smart enough, one would have a chance to enter the resource hall. But the law enforcement hall. Not only must one have a strong cultivation base, but also extraordinary courage and loyalty to the Nine Heavens Palace. After all, the people in the law enforcement hall had the power to kill the disciples. In short, it was as difficult as ascending to heaven to enter the law enforcement hall. And the treatment in the law enforcement hall was better than the resource hall. Therefore, the disciples of the Nine Heavens Palace were extremely afraid of the law enforcement hall, but they were also very eager to enter the law enforcement hall. Wang Yun had felt that she had lost hope in life, but she did not expect that immediately after, an even bigger pie would fall down. It made her feel like she was dreaming, unreal. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Senior Sister Wang Yun, why don't you quickly thank Hall Master Shengguan? Wang Yun quivered and hurriedly knelt down on one knee, solemnly saying, Thank you, Lord Hall Master, this disciple will be loyal to the death and will not disappoint Lord Hall Master's appreciation. Shengguan Fenglan smiled and said, You have to be loyal to the Nine Heavens Palace, not me. Yes. This disciple will remember. Wang Yun respectfully replied. Shangguan Fenglan said, "Get up." Wang Yun got up, the joy on her face could not be concealed. However, there was one person at the scene whose face was extremely ugly. This person was Feng Yuan. After driving Wang Yun out of the resource hall, Shangguan Fenglan immediately took Wang Yun into the law enforcement hall. Wasn't this clearly refuting his face? "Stinking woman, just you wait." He secretly snorted coldly, and with a stomach full of anger, he disappeared from the second floor without looking back. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Feng Yuan's back, then looked at Wang Yun and said, "You can hand it over." "Yes." Wang Yun nodded respectfully, turned to look at Qin Feiyang, and smiled, "Junior brother Jiang, let's go and hand it over." Shangguan Fenglan said, "You go and hand it over to someone else, I have something to ask Jiang Haotian." "Ah," Wang Yun looked at Shangguan Fenglan in surprise. Mu Tianyang sent a sound transmission, "Brother Hua, this woman doesn't seem to have good eyesight." Indeed. Obviously, Shangguan Fenglan helped him because of Jiang Haotian, but she didn't see through it. Hua Yi secretly said. Wang Yun indeed didn't see through it at first, but when she heard Shangguan Fenglan's words and thought of how Shangguan Fenglan protected Qin Feiyang before, she immediately understood. She looked at Qin Feiyang gratefully, then turned and walked towards Hua Yi and Mu Tianyang. "Jiang Haotian, come out." Shangguan Fenglan said, then turned and walked out of the resource hall. Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly, and followed with large strides. He didn't need to think to know that Shangguan Fenglan came to find him because of Frenzy and Long Tianyu. Walking out of the resource hall, Qin Feiyang followed Shangguan Fenglan and flew to a nearby mountain peak with no one. Shangguan Fenglan said, "You must have heard about what Frenzy did in Sky Dragon City." "I've heard a little." Qin Feiyang nodded. Shangguan Fenglan said meaningfully, "After receiving my message, he actually didn't bring Long Tianyu back, this shouldn't be simple." "How would I know?" Qin Feiyang was a little innocent. "Keep pretending." Shangguan Fenglan looked at him playfully. "I didn't." Qin Feiyang's face was full of helplessness. Shangguan Fenglan couldn't hold it in any more and said angrily, "Weren't you the one who told Frenzy not to bring Long Tianyu back?" "When did I inform him?" "Senior brother Frenzy and I didn't establish a contract bridge." Qin Feiyang said. "You two have known each other for so long, and even went to the far west together. Do you think I will believe that you didn't establish a contract bridge?" Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. "I really didn't, why don't you believe me?" Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. "I can believe you if you want. But before evening, you must find Frenzy and Long Tianyu for me. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." Shangguan Fenglan sneered, and flew away like lightning, disappearing from Qin Feiyang's sight. Chapter 21:19. Why am I so unlucky? Qin Feiyang stood alone at the peak of the mountain, wanting to cry but no tears came out. Everything could be related to him. Sigh. Where can I find him? Qin Feiyang sighed and flew towards the resource hall. To find Madman, he had to leave the Nine Heavens Palace. Therefore, he had to inform Feng Yuan in advance, lest he use it as a pretext to make a fuss. Returning to the resource hall, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be stunned. Everyone was there, but Mu Tianyang was nowhere to be seen. Qin Feiyang walked to Hua Yi's side. Hua Yi and Wang Yun were talking. "Junior brother Jiang, thank you. But I really didn't expect your relationship with Hall Master Shangguan to be so good." Wang Yun smiled gratefully. "I'm just a small disciple, what relationship can I have with her? She must have taken a fancy to your talent to let you enter the law enforcement hall." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Wang Yun was also a smart person. She just smiled and didn't ask any more. Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi and asked suspiciously, "Where's Mu Tianyang?" Hua Yi pointed to the second floor and said in a low voice, "After you left, he was called up by Feng Yuan." Qin Feiyang looked at the second floor. Why was he in such a hurry to call Mu Tianyang up? "You guys are busy, I'll go to the second floor too." Qin Feiyang said to the two of them and turned to walk to the second floor. Second floor. In the lounge. Feng Yuan sat beside the tea table, and Mu Tianyang stood respectfully opposite him. Feng Yuan asked, "The day before yesterday, Madman took Jiang Haotian away from the treasure pavilion. You were there, right?" "N." Mu Tianyang nodded. Feng Yuan said, "Then do you know where they went? What did they do?" "I don't know. I asked Madman at that time, but he didn't reveal anything." Mu Tianyang said. "So mysterious. It's really strange." Feng Yuan frowned. Mu Tianyang suddenly said, "Hall Master, didn't you ask the Great Elder?" This old man never thought that this matter was related to the Great Elder. Since it has something to do with the Great Elder, this matter is definitely not ordinary. That little bastard Jiang Haotian definitely won't tell me the truth. I'll have to rely on you for this matter. This old man will also find an opportunity to sound out the first elder's intentions. Feng Yuan said. Yes. Mu Tianyang nodded. Feng Yuan waved his hand and said, "Leave." Mu Tianyang hesitated for a moment and said, "Actually, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What is it?" Feng Yuan was doubtful. Mu Tianyang's gaze flickered slightly, and he said, "I want to make a trip to the Heavenly Dragon Sea." "Why are we going to the Sky Dragon Sea?" Feng Yuan was stunned and asked in surprise. Mu Tianyang moved closer to Feng Yuan's ear and whispered a few words. "So that's how it is." Feng Yuan came to a realization when he heard that and said with a nod, "All right, you arranged this matter well. This old man will also let Wen Hai and Jin Yunchang they all assist you. Many thanks for Hall Master's trust. This time, I'll definitely bury him in the Heavenly Dragon Sea." Mu Tianyang said with a cold smile. "If you can really make him die in the Heavenly Dragon Sea, then you'll be this resource hall's next Hall Master." Feng Yuan said. Mu Tianyang was overjoyed and said with a bow, "This subordinate definitely won't let down His Excellency Hall Master's expectations." "Huh," Feng Yuan laughed loudly and waved his hand, saying, "Go and get busy." This subordinate takes his leave. Mu Tianyang bowed and withdrew. After Mu Tianyang withdrew from the lounge, Feng Yuan immediately laughed coldly. "Do you really think that this old man will let you be the next resource hall's hall master? Truly an out-and-out fool. When Jiang Haotian dies, that will also be the date of your death." Outside in the corridor. When Mu Tianyang closed the door, he just happened to see Qin Feiyang coming upstairs. "What are you running up for now?" Mu Tianyang was taken aback and hurriedly walked over. "Shangguan Fenglan asked me to find Frenzy and Long Tianyu. What can I do? I can only come and report first. You, on the other hand. Why is Feng Yuan in such a hurry to find you?" Qin Feiyang transmitted. "Isn't it because he wants to know about you and Frenzy going to the far west land? But I didn't say anything. In addition, I have already obtained his consent. We can set off for the Heavenly Dragon Sea at any time." Mu Tianyang secretly said. He would agree so easily. Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Do you understand my methods?" Mu Tianyang waved his fist and smiled smugly, then walked straight past Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Tianyang's back view, a hint of light flickering in the depths of his eyes. Although he and Mu Tianyang were currently in a cooperative relationship, regardless of whether it was him or Mu Tianyang, they were actually well aware of it in their hearts. This kind of relationship could collapse at any time. Therefore, going to the Heavenly Dragon Sea, not only had to be careful of Feng Yuan's plot, but also had to be wary of Mu Tianyang. Sigh. This scheming is really tiring. Qin Feiyang suddenly shook his head, turned back, walked to the door, and knocked lightly. Come in. Feng Yuan's voice came from inside. Qin Feiyang pushed open the door. Seeing that it was actually Qin Feiyang, Feng Yuan's face immediately turned gloomy and asked, "What's the matter?" "Hall Master, Shangguan Fenglan asked me to find Madman. What do you think we should do?" Qin Feiyang said awkwardly. "What? She asked you to find Madman?" Feng Yuan was stunned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Is she sick? There are so many people in the law enforcement hall, is there a need for you to go?" Feng Yuan immediately became angry. "I think so too. But she just wants me to go." Just as Qin Feiyang disappeared, a black arrow flashed with a shocking sharpness, cutting through the sky like lightning and entering the back of a burly man's head. This burly man was walking in front of Qin Feiyang. The moment Qin Feiyang disappeared, the burly man naturally became a ghost. Accompanied by a painful scream, the burly man died on the spot. What's going on? The sudden scene caused the crowd at the city gate to be in an uproar. Everyone scanned their surroundings in bewilderment. The 4 guards at the city gate were naturally alarmed. 2 of them immediately rushed over to observe the burly man's situation. This arrow pierced through his sea of consciousness and directly shattered his divine soul. And there's poison on the arrow. Who is it? Who dares to commit murder at the city gate of our Sky Dragon City? The 2 guards scanned the crowd around them. I don't know. We didn't see it either. Just now, we suddenly heard this person scream and then saw him fall to the ground. The few people standing in front opened their mouths. The perpetrator must be among you. From now on, without our orders, no one is allowed to leave. Seal the city gate. The 2 guards shouted. The 2 guards guarding the city gate immediately mobilized their divine power and sealed the city gate. Then, they soared into the sky and monitored everyone present. At the same time, Qin Feiyang was also in the Black Tortoise realm, scanning the people on the plains. Only he knew that the perpetrator's target was not the burly man, but him. But he did not find the perpetrator. Everyone present looked very innocent. However, in such a short period of time, this person could not have escaped. He must still be here. But, who wanted to kill him? Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan had suffered many losses, so he should not send people to assassinate him again. Moreover, Mu Tianyang had already mentioned to Feng Yuan that he wanted to go to the Sky Dragon Sea. So, even if Feng Yuan wanted to kill him, he would definitely wait until he went to the Sky Dragon Sea before taking action. But other than Feng Yuan, who else could it be? During his time in Sky Dragon City, it seemed that he had only offended Feng Yuan.